royally fucked it up.
Oh yeah.
And we were doing some cocaine in the
other
room.
So cocaine fucked it up.
Yeah, it's fine to be bald, right? Here's 20 men that are bald and they're thriving. They're all jacked. Like, so, and all the people that don't look good, you look like a cancer patient.
Yeah. So I literally saw my dog as my ego.
Yeah.
But in most ways, this is what my ego is doing. Like, it's a stupid, silly animal that is trying to protect me, and all it wants is my fucking approval.
Yeah.
I want to give you the Cohiba, which is either really good or really shitty. But it's a real Cuban Cohiba. But the draw is so fucking tight.
I like tight.
You don't like it this tight.
I like it tight.
I don't think
Keep
you know.
talking to me about tight.
I don't think you know what you mean.
I don't. All right, we got things rocking and rolling. So there's no start point. We just fuck around, but.
All right, well.
Keep talking to me about tight.
I'm gonna try to fix this so you can smoke this first.
Dope. I'm gonna go pee real quick.
This is
so good.
You don't want that cigar either.
Dude, I paid good money for this.
No, I mean,
just kidding.
I have like 4 or 5 that you might like. So, so I'm gonna say is if you don't like it when you're smoking it, I have other shit that you can just keep. So give it a chance, but like, so that's yours. That's gonna be mild to medium.
Dope.
It'd be good. Got you cut. There's a light.
Thank you, man.
No problem, buddy.
Got
Got a lot of shit out here.
Oh yeah, I did one podcast with my buddy Robbie, which we're supposed to do another one because I royally fucked it up.
Oh yeah.
And we were doing some cocaine in the other room.
So cocaine fucked it up.
Well, it was my decision. So then I was like, it's gonna be fine. Let's just bring it in the room. What I'll do is just like clip it up here. Dude, it was just everywhere. Like there was like when he would be saying something really funny, I would be like,
oh my God.
And I was trying to listen back. I was like, this is not gonna work.
Mm-mm.
But like these were these really drunk, stupid decisions that I made, and I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Like, and then I looked at it, was like, this is not
like,
usable.
It's like too far. We went a little too far on this one.
And I've definitely talked about like plenty of drug use, but talking about it and putting evidence on video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And obviously I would never do drugs.
Me either.
Yeah, okay. So as long as we're clear on that.
Mm-mm.
Dude, I'm actually gonna look like such a pussy because I suck at. Wait, should I light it in this?
No, I mean I have that there for you if you want to use it.
No, I want to try it.
Well, hold on. It doesn't do, like, go ahead and light it and smoke a little bit.
Okay, and then...
So it does better when it's warmed up, and there's no better way to say this, but, like, you want to get the end nice and moist before you put it in the tube, all right?
Dude, that is really hot.
Yeah.
I'm slightly turned on. Mm-hmm. God damn it.
Mm-hmm.
This is my third cigar.
You just want to...
It's my fourth. It might be my fourth.
You want to slobber on it a little bit before you put it in the hole.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Wait, this side. That side.
Mm-mm. Not that side. Mm. Holy shit.
These are nice.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. Yeah. Wait, the lighter's nice or the cigar?
Both.
Okay.
It took me way longer to light on some other things, so that is nice.
You like that? You get some
No, this
flavor
is
out of
really
that
nice.
a little bit?
Because if I go too strong, I just start coughing
No, I
before I
know.
even light it.
Yeah.
You
I know
are
what
the
you
first
like.
person I've smoked a cigar on the podcast, so thank you.
Good. Good. Well, I appreciate you setting it up out here. This is nice, man.
Dude, this is nice. I'm excited. I probably will do it out here a lot in the fall. It's really nice out here.
Yeah. In the sun, it'll be easier in the fall. This might be really beautiful. How does this look with the sun back there?
So I set it. That one's fucked right now.
Mm-hmm.
because it's an iPhone and it's going directly into the sun. These ones I set, they're just a tad bright, but because it's shifting so fast, I did 2 out here last year, and the light shifts so fast. I had worse lighting though, so this will start to supplement. So I'm hoping with this one, it's going to be a touch bright right now. Like the highlights will get a little like glary, but that should change within like 10 to 15 minutes. And then they should look really nice. And then hopefully it won't get too dark because, well, the supplementary. But this is like my newest experiment. And then I'm starting to use Premiere, so I should be able to like have a bit more control of like boostings and stuff.
You were using Final Cut before?
It was God, this is gonna sound super technical, but the keynotes or whatever, like they were just like pain in the ass. Like, I don't know.
Keynotes?
So I think it's like keynotes. You are able to move a slider over time.
I got you.
So like over the course of an hour, like dude, they were such a pain in the ass, and it would like fuck everything up. I'm like, okay, so I want it to gradually boost 3 up in brightness over the course of an hour, and then something would get fucked, and then all of a sudden like everything was haywire. And Premiere makes it a bit simpler.
I've only used Premiere. I've never tried Final Cut, but
Final Cut was really easy to start with, but it had a lot of hang-ups like as I have been going, and so yeah. Dude, this is nice. This is a good pick.
I'm glad, man.
Thanks
It's a
for being here,
little
Ben.
it's a little tough to
Drinking
make cigars for other people.
Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva?
Cheers, baby.
Thanks, bud. I've had this before. I was pretending like I didn't. But
I love Bodhi.
Yeah. Anyway, this is set up. This is what's going on. I like this. Dude, I can't see your eyes.
Oh, I get that. I hate it when people wear sunglasses. But so I told you I did that.
I was like trying to look in the glint. I was like, I don't know if he's smiling.
I'm staring at you right now. I'm looking dead in your eye sockets, bud. No, I did a podcast. This is actually like a physical insecurity thing that happened because I did this podcast last week over Zoom, and what was it? It was the Rocky Mountain Cigar Podcast. The dude, Ryan, I really liked him. He was easy to talk to. But during that podcast, I was outside at about this time, and I'm just, like, I watched a few clips, and I'm just squinting so hard, and I look so fucking old that I'm like,
Dude, the sun's over there, though.
I know, it's still in my eye.
No,
it's still in my fucking
Dude,
eye.
I know, it's...
But, it's weird, like, these are the things that, if we're not paying attention, our ego is doing this shit all the time, and we don't notice, so then we can't...
Keep going.
We can't put it in check.
Yeah.
Right? But I honestly think the best way to check it is to just, whether, you don't have to tell everybody about everything, but, like, to share it makes it, like, takes all the momentum out of that bullshit.
Dude,
I think
so. Well, you know this. Okay. I 100% agree. If you tell, like, for example, for like a lover, like your wife, for me, a girlfriend, I'm insecure right now. You know, like I don't, like, not to say you shouldn't do this, but like, hey, I was feeling insecure. Then I use this with friends, and I'll be like, dude, just so you know, I was a little insecure that you guys did that thing, and they're like, oh, dude, I don't know. Like, no, you shouldn't have changed anything. I just feel good about saying it now.
So you're saying you should say this to a lover, yada yada.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
not in a like you need to correct your decision making.
No. That's part of the awareness,
like,
is understanding that it's not anyone else's responsibility.
Yeah. I hold this in a
bro.
Dude,
the flies are
bad.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do about this?
Nothing. They're just gonna
do they
be
not
a
like
annoying, man.
Fuck, man.
I
forgot about this. This is the first one outside since last year. I should I will figure this out for next podcast, which you won't be on, so it won't
Yeah,
help
but
you.
as soon as it's a little cold, you won't have a problem.
Yeah. But I do need to figure this out for next one.
So the thing about being transparent in that particular way with a partner, I didn't learn that until after my first divorce. Have we talked about that at all? My divorce and everything?
Yeah,
again?
you told me you were divorced.
So I was divorced at, I think maybe 27, and it was really a short marriage, but
Was it a year, 2 years?
it's hard to say because like the divorce process is however much time, and then you're like, well, I don't know how long that was. But I ultimately think it was like a year and a few months of being married
And
before
then like,
saying like we need to get a
Yeah,
divorce,
yeah.
right? Fascinating to even think about that time because it doesn't.
because you're
seem...
like 50 now, right?
right this second, yes, yeah.
In this light of my squinty eyes.
And then hopefully this swells them up really big.
Oh,
you know
dude,
what I mean?
it's gonna be good.
So
I'm gonna crank the clarity on this. Just kidding.
So then I dated a girl afterwards, and I was like, I want to do things very differently. Unfortunately, she was capable of playing the same game of transparency, but I fucking loved it because we could be like, hey, I'm feeling needy right now. I know that's not your responsibility, but if you could just give me some attention,
Yeah.
that'd be wonderful. And then to have the partner respond with like, holy shit, yeah, like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Here's some cuddles. Squeeze my tits. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So to have that. So since then, I've been super.
Well, it's also
honest about
nice
that.
when, to your previous point, when you do like, I discovered this at the bar where it was like, if I did something embarrassing that I didn't want anyone to know, it's like getting out in front of the narrative before the narrative happens. Like, so if you're like, hey, I'm feeling embarrassed about going bald, like, you know, whatever, like that's my insecurity, right? So
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, I want you to finish that. But I find the bald thing interesting because it never blipped my radar.
Really?
I started losing my hair at like 18.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I never even thought about it.
I think it's because you look like The Rock.
I don't think I look like The Rock at all. The only thing we have in common is that we're bald. Like
and
literally,
you're
that's
muscular.
it. Like you could
Oh, he's
say I look
tall.
like Danny DeVito, or I guess he's
No,
not
that's not
bald.
the same.
No,
Yeah. Okay. So I will tell you my.
but I know it's really common.
Because it's just like, yeah, it's super common. But like every time that I would look, I'm like, yeah, it's fine to be bald, right? Like here's 20 men that are bald and they're thriving. They're all jacked. Like so, and all the people that don't
Okay.
look good, you look like a cancer patient.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, I don't want to look like that. I was like, fuck, dude. So when I started balding, I'm like, ugh, and I'm not gonna sport a fucking bald spot. So
No.
what the fuck? So yeah. So anyway, that became an insecurity of mine. But by me addressing that to like people I know, I'm just like, dude, it's fine.
It
Like,
takes all the punch out of it.
yeah, exactly. It's like what Eminem did in 8 Mile. Like you make fun of yourself, and then so you take.
But it's also there's a difference between being self-deprecating and then
Sure.
just being honest, right? Like
Sure.
the bald thing just it objectively also works with like fat dudes with beards.
Yeah, I'm not that either.
You're
I
like
guess
in between.
I could.
You're not
eat-
fat at all.
I could be. Maybe I need to lean into
You
that.
gotta commit one way or the other.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm trying to be the muscular dude. So that way, like, give me 5 more years, and then I can just shave it.
You know,
Or I'm gonna be the rich dude and fill in the hair,
Yeah.
and go to Turkey and fill in the hair, and then I'll be fine. I like having hair.
I will say, if there was a way to have a head of hair that looked totally natural and wasn't weird, I would absolutely have a head of hair. I would love it.
Bro, haven't
it's
you
been
seen
20 years.
Haven't you seen Henry Cavill in The Witcher?
Yeah.
That hair looks amazing. That's totally fake.
Yeah, but
It
can
looks
you
great.
commit to that daily?
No.
No.
I could never.
No.
But I also don't have that chin.
He's just a fucking beautiful human. Dude.
He is really
Henry
beautiful.
Cavill is.
He also has hair anyway, but like, as soon as I started watching that show, I was like, dude, it's obnoxiously like a wig. Like they didn't even like They didn't even try to make it real. I swear.
So
like,
have you watched the show Winning Time? With it's John C. Reilly.
Okay.
About the
I love him.
LA Lakers dynasty.
Okay.
I don't care about sports.
I need to actually.
I don't care about sports, but it is so fucking
I've heard this
good.
from other people.
It is so well shot.
Yeah.
The cinematography is different than anything I've seen. The way they're clipping scenes. They'll do a lot of stuff where like the subject is talking, there's a fast clip here and there, and then it'll also show the subject at a point when they're not talking, but they're still talking over themselves not talking, and they make it work perfectly.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but in that show, most of them have terrible wigs on, and I actually don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. Everything else is perfect.
Dude,
it's got to be on purpose.
John C. Reilly, man. He's so
a master
funny.
in this movie.
He's so funny.
He's actually a legit good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't. That's just like an insecurity of mine. But like to our previous point, like talking through, like if you can be honest in your insecurities through people, and I think there is a difference being like, I'm really jealous, you need to stop your behavior, versus, hey, I'm jealous of that, I'm working through it, I just wanted to let you know that like I'm dealing with it. It shows like vulnerability without like, especially when it's like a partner.
It's also really revealing about the other person too, because sometimes I've done that with people that are unable to receive it, right? So then you only do that once because you understand that like, okay, this person doesn't get that either, so
and
therefore
they're not your person.
Well, yeah, and or however that works, you have that boundary, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about significant other. I'm just talking about anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody that you know. But if they're not able to receive that information and understand that you're not actually blaming them, then that means that they're not able to see that their triggers or wounds are their own, and they're not.
Sure.
Other people are not responsible for those, right?
Yeah. Dude, the human dialogue is definitely a tricky bitch, because like, man, I just had one with the girl I'm seeing, and I was like there was like a disconnect, and I was like, I think that I'm fucking up a little, and then but I'm like, I don't know if I'm fucking up as much as I think I'm fucking up. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna do my best to be better. And then we realized today, like, dude, we're stressed as fuck. Like, I'm stressed on money, I'm stressed on like a lot of like life pressures, right? And then she's also stressed in a bunch of areas. She's like, holy shit, like these things are a weight on like interpersonal dialogue. So so there's these pressures outside. Like this is why this sounds vague, but like this is why like if you're in a marriage and you have a relationship issue, say it's like a communication issue on the kids, like say you have kids, you're like, well, this is already things. Say for example, it's the toothpaste lid. In
relation to the kids? Or just
no, the kids. Kids created a bigger thing on the toothpaste lid, and then if the finances come involved, then it's even more. And now that toothpaste lid is such a problem, but you didn't realize that there's all these other stressors. Like, oh fuck,
100%, because all those attachments, right? All these things that are either not going how we want them to go, or they're going how we don't want them to go, or they should exist and they don't, or they do exist and they shouldn't. All those things are attachments. Sometimes I feel like we have a particular or specific allotment of energy, and all the attachments take a percentage. And then as soon as you're faced with the toothpaste lid, you're like, holy fuck, I'm gonna go crazy. Because you have 1% left, because you've given 99% out, and it's gone. So I feel like I'm doing that now a little bit with my wife, for sure.
Yeah. Well, this is why I will never have a wife, because I can't even handle the toothpaste.
Just on your own. Like, who the fuck left this lid off?
Oh, fuck.
You're looking at yourself in the mirror. Josh, fuck you, man.
Dude, I used to make this joke, but I think I only made it to me actually in the mirror. But I was like, dude, I can't even handle you. Like the amount I fuck up when I like look in the mirror, I'm like, fuck, dude, I cannot handle you every day. I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to handle everybody else
but
every
the
day?
reality, that is a wonderful place to get to. You know, there's self-judgment, there's self-deprecation involved. Sure. There's some things that are harmful in that. But when you get to the point where you're so sick of yourself, you kind of tend to let go once you hit that point, and then you start to discover. Initially, you start to discover who you're not.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like, have you felt that process?
Oh yeah, dude. I
was thinking about that on the way over.
I would to get a broader broader spectrum of even just like who I am becoming is a lot of thanks to you. Like when we first started talking, I mean, we like did it. This is wild. This is like kind of off topic, but like the first time that you and I sat down to meet, we're literally like even to backtrack, I've known your brother for a decade and more. I knew of you, and then we like bumped into each other. We're like, hey, we should meet up, talk some ideas. Dude, the first time we meet up, we talked for 4 fucking hours.
Easy.
And I was like, I think we're just gonna go and like talk for half an hour, have some ideas, and then all of a sudden, like talk for 4 hours. And so like exchange of ideas, hang out again, like some books that you like recommended to me. I'm just like, dude, like I literally changed some very big courses because of just like dialogue that we have. So like, yeah, it's very interesting to watch like this progression. And obviously, I mean, we talk psychedelics, we talk with, spirituality. Like I've been on some of these paths already.
It's all the same thing though. It's all methods.
Yeah.
We're just talking about methods.
Yeah.
To consciousness.
But yeah, so to that point, I am self-deprecating in some regards because I like humor a lot and it stems from that, but I don't want to lean too heavy in that because like at the end of the day, like I think I told you about my non-negotiables which I don't do
at all now.
I'm gonna restart them. I was talking to a friend about it 2 days ago. I was like, dude, I'm restarting these. But
also don't resist. If you feel like you need to reevaluate, don't resist that either.
Oh, no, yeah.
So, like...
That makes sense.
Sometimes if something is continuously not working, it's not time for it yet.
But I like them. And I think
go for it. But like...
One of my favorite ones is the mirror talk. And I have been doing this. There's this book I read, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. I don't know if we've talked about this book. This is what first taught me it. But I like look in the mirror and the first thing I say is like, I love you, Joshua. And then I talk about, I don't have a mantra. I just say whatever the fuck I like want. But I'm like, I believe in you. It has to be honest because I realize that some people can't do this because like I'm faking it. I'm like, then don't fake it.
But here's something I want to say about that. Sometimes, and I'm saying this because I've done it and I deal with the same thing because I only want to tell the truth. As much as I am capable, I want to tell the truth. But what I realized is that sometimes I can know the truth but not feel it, right? So when this started was sometimes I would have that conversation with myself. Let's see, where did this start? I think it started with a gratefulness practice.
Yeah.
So waking up, instead of waking up to the pressure and chaos that the mind presents, I woke up with what are 3 things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes they were things I knew I was grateful for but didn't necessarily feel grateful for. But as a result of telling myself the truth, and then I kept doing it during the beginning of my meditations, where it was like, I am sitting down and I feel off and I feel disconnected, but I'm going to tell the truth. So the truth is, I feel shame. I feel grateful. And then I'm worthy. I know that I'm worthy. And that sometimes I don't feel worthy, but I know that I'm worthy. And continuing to do that practice, it changes something. And I don't know how that works, but it changes something.
Dude, it does. was just talking to a friend because she was saying she struggled with doing this at all. Like, because she's like, I know I don't feel that way about myself. And so I was like, well, then don't say that. I don't know how to actually like fix all this because I do know that I love myself now.
But
like,
here's what you have to get down to, and this is what like Ram Dass and Muji and some teachers would get down to is who is the I in that sentence?
Yeah.
And who is the you? Right? So what we're getting down to is once you can understand that the ego is not who you are, then you can start to say, you almost start to treat the ego like a good dog. During my DMT trip, which we can get into, I saw my dog as my ego. I didn't tell you this, did I?
Yeah, you did. Actually.
I did?
Yeah. What's
So
your dog's name?
Tank.
Yeah.
So I saw my dog as my ego.
Yeah.
Now, in the depth of that state of mind, I literally saw my dog as my ego.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it changed it to where, like, it was this beautiful reminder of, like, in most ways, this is what my ego is doing. Like, it's a stupid, silly animal that is trying to protect me, and all it wants is my fucking approval.
Yeah.
All it wants is my approval. And it's full of desires.
Yeah.
He wants to eat, and he wants to chase things.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like, it is this simple
He wants
being.
to fight.
He
Does your
wants to
dog
fight. Yeah. He wants to fight.
Egos fight a lot. Yeah.
He wants to fight, and he wants to protect. But so much of it is about protecting me, which in that scenario is the soul or the consciousness, or I like to call it loving awareness. So to kind of, when people start on the journey of, I think mostly it starts as a journey of health or the avoidance of suffering. How can I not suffer so much?
Yeah.
It's okay, whatever way you approach it. But as you get down into it more and more, you always end up in the same spot where you discover who you're not. You are not your ego. You are not your body. You're not your thoughts. You're not your fucking desires.
Yeah.
So you don't constantly have to entertain any of those if you don't want to, because you are beneath and out of all of that. You are the one constant in the whole scenario.
Yeah, it's a very trippy concept.
Until you're there. When you're there, you're like, oh my God, this is nice, man.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Dude, I didn't tell you this. You've still been meditating, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like, it's been years. I've been wanting to try it. I struggle in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna try TM. Do you know of the transcendental meditation?
Not specifically.
So it's a pretty well-known.
I think it's the most common, but I don't actually know because I just
so
read
you've
about
heard
it.
of it. Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I read about it and didn't dive into what it actually,
So it's
like the method.
It's more of it's not a mindfulness meditation. It's more of like, I think, dude, I'm speaking from the outside.
Okay.
I'm gonna actually learn it tomorrow, but it's more of like you create a mantra and you get into a more like trance-like state, or some sort of state where it's like a state where your body repairs, relaxes, but your mind's awake. And my buddy David turned me onto it. Did you meet David? Yes. He's when I first met you at Sturman's. He was showing us like Facebook.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
He's one of my best friends.
Okay.
So he turned me onto it, and this was years ago. And I'm like, dude, I kind of want to try it, but I've just been like resisting. And it's like one of those things, like it finds you. Like I'm like, dude, I think I'm ready.
Yeah.
And because I've constantly struggled with trying it, so I'll let you know how it goes.
So, are you aware of what your resistance is? You don't want to hit it like that. It'll just break it to pieces. Here, relight it. Hold on.
Here's the thing: if I had a good ashtray, I wouldn't be hitting it so hard.
You're like, bam, bam.
I know nothing about it.
You're adorable. Adorable.
Dude, I feel like such a pussy when I'm like smoking a cigar, especially around people that smoke cigars, because I'm just like.
It's like what? Do you surf?
I surfed thrice.
Okay, so you look like that surfing
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
But it's really fun. Like if you surf for a while, you can get like the hottest chick on land on a surfboard, and you're like, oh, that is hilarious. Like
Yeah.
that bitch looks goofy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Or the girls that are on surfboard are the hottest girls
when they
on
know what they're
land
doing,
and on surfboards.
when they know what they're
are the
doing,
hottest
it
girls on
is-
the planet.
Oh my god.
So when I was at, so really quick caveat, I was in Bali, like second time surfing or first time, whatever. I'm swimming out and I'm like just watching these girls like swim by me. Like incredible features.
Because their butts just like
just like that. And then like they swim past me and then stand up and I was like, oh my God. And that's one of those things where like you don't stand a chance with these women
100%.
because they're only into surfing.
And they're also super confident.
Yeah. And I'm like, and this is where I'm like the most vulnerable in my life. And I'm like,
Yeah, you're floundering.
Yeah.
You're pale. You don't know how to paddle.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So resistance. Have you identified resistance to meditation?
No, this is a good topic because I resist most things for way too long and I don't know why. Like, so like I've known I needed it for years. I've like, everyone that I follow recommends it. It'll benefit your life. It like really helps me succeed, or it really helps me be grounded. It really helps relieve stress. It really helps me be all of the pluses. And yet for some reason it's like, and I'll get these like moments where I sit in the chair, I'm like, oh, I feel pretty good. And then for some reason I stop and I'm like, dude, why am I stopping? So I have not yet identified.
So why are you stopping?
I don't know.
Come on, man. You're in there.
Dude, I'm gonna do this one. I do think that there might be certain ones that don't resonate with people. Because
certain ones. What do you mean? Meditation methods?
Yeah. So there's multiple different like.
Yeah, there's a lot of methods.
Yeah. So I think that like, because I tried like Sam Harris, like a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but
no, it's not just you. It has to do with what your mind is trying to do with
Sure.
it. So your mind has. It's likely your mind has maybe an expectation of what's
Right.
supposed to occur.
right.
But in meditation, the whole point is to let go of that expectation.
Sure.
And honestly, to not do it with any particular outcome in mind, and maybe no outcome whatsoever. And maybe nothing fucking happens. But the reality is that shit is going to happen.
Right.
And I have resistance. Let me start. I used to have a lot resistance every single time.
Yeah.
And it was fear. It was fear of what I might see,
Yeah.
what I might experience about myself, and not
How long did
want
that
to know
last?
about.
Like how long did that resistance last? Like
I will say, during those, I was dabbling. Let's say I was dabbling for 6 years.
see, I think I've been dabbling.
Yeah, I dabbled.
Yeah.
But I talked to my therapist about it. She was fucking wonderful. I miss her a lot. But she was cute little lady, probably 65, 70.
Did she pass?
No, she just quit.
That was
She
so
just
stupid.
quit. Jackass. Actually, I don't know at this point. I haven't talked to her, but she was super healthy.
God
like
rest her
4
soul.
years ago. Chris Newkirk, if you're watching.
Shout out to Chris.
Shout out to Chris. But she was incredibly experienced, had a PhD, and had awareness of spirituality
Yeah.
and psychedelics and like the whole package, right?
Yeah.
So I remember telling her like, why do we feel resistance every time we try to be still? And she was like, not everybody feels resistance, and you won't always feel resistance. But at that point, I assumed that it was just the case for everybody, where nobody really wanted to do it, but they're like, well, I have to do this, like working out.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. But you hit a point where you start to, just like working out, where you start to recognize the reward.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I can accept this.
Yeah.
So my approach a lot of times, like, I'll sit down sometimes and I'll be like, I'm really distracted. I don't want to be doing this. And I tell myself, hey, all you have to do nothing for 20 minutes but sit here and watch your thoughts. So just do that and let it go and see what happens.
So if we're gonna compare meditation to working out because I really like working out. I've been doing it for a decade. I mean, I had no results, but but I love it. But so to that end, the reasons I don't work out isn't because I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm like, I have too much to do. So it's always a time thing. And I think that's like because I love
working out. It's not a time
working
thing
out.
though, and not to put you down in any way, but it's not a
I feel
time
put
thing.
down.
But because I'm ignoring you. We have as much time as anybody else. We just choose to use it for one thing or another. That's all it is. It's like I still use the term like, well, I didn't have time to do that. But what I really mean is I didn't prioritize that, or I didn't have the energy for that. Because sometimes it's an energy thing, not a time thing.
And I feel like what I'm hoping to embrace with meditation is you don't even need the energy for it.
You don't.
That's like, because I do need the energy to work out, like for sure. Like, but that's not my hang up with working out. Like, I love it, but the reasons I don't is always like, fuck, dude, I got to get a bunch of shit done. I'm probably not going to do it today, whatever, blah, blah. But I'm really looking forward to this next chapter because I do think I've been dabbling for 5 years. Like, I do think that I'm like on the cusp of discovering a really, really good like thing that really enhances my life that just becomes like second nature.
A part of it.
And I'm asking you because I mean I feel like you're about there or you are there. Like,
I am.
In sort of.
I am in that. I don't have resistance to anymore. I really look forward to it. Like it's almost like, hey, I get to get in that jacuzzi for 20 minutes. Yeah. Like you really look forward to it.
That's what I need. I need a jacuzzi, and then I would.
Not a cold plunge, but that's a different thing.
Do you want a cold plunge?
No.
I don't either.
No.
Dude, when you said that thing to me, you're like, so you get in the cold plunge, but you won't sit in a chair and do nothing.
That's baffling to me.
I know.
Because
it is baffling to me.
It's so much more difficult.
It is obnoxious.
So here's what happened with meditation and how it relates to my spiritual progression or progression in consciousness. I've had a few paradigm shifts in life, right? The first one was going to college, where I realized I was really insecure in high school, and really trapped by the ego, and always thinking about myself and worrying about other people's judgment because I was so heavily judging myself.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I get a redo in college, and I was still really religious. But I realized at that point that I was like, there is something fundamentally flawed about my perspective. Now, I don't feel like God doesn't exist, but I feel like the way that I was taught about God and how to behave is wrong.
And you, just to clarify, you did grow up very Bible religious, right? Like
yes.
Christianity.
I wouldn't say... I believe we believed in I think we believed in a literal 7-day creation.
Did you guys go to church?
Yeah.
Okay. Like an average amount, like a Sunday.
When I was young, it was every Sunday,
Okay.
It was like a big deal. Because my parents converted to Christianity from nothing in their 20s.
Okay.
So they were so new to it that they went really fundamentalist really quick. But I was like, there's something so off about the Jesus that I read about, even in the Gospels, and all the judgment and behavior orientation that the church is telling me. Like, it's not telling me to be the individual that God created. It's telling me to be a mirror of whatever the church says I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So it just like fucking tears your heart out, right? Because everything about you is wrong. Because I'm like, I'm not that. So going to college, I realized I could be whatever I wanted. And I was like, what I want is I want to know the truth. And I'm willing to let go of all of this bullshit. So I communicate. It was the first time when I really communicated directly with God and said, who are you and what's going on? And I don't care what the answer is.
Did she communicate back at that point?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. I mean,
Yeah.
it was this period of grace where I felt like I kept pushing the envelope, what my envelope was, which was like fucking nothing.
All right.
I kept pushing it and being like, well, do you love me now? And it was just like this period of grace and mercy and compassion. And I needed it. There was something that happened. Then it fell apart. I felt whatever that was lift.
Yeah.
And I went through a long, what I call an existential depression. And that's where my marriage happened, was in the middle of that, which makes sense.
Yeah. This is what, like college years into like late 20s or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was in Panama. I was in Panama on a hilltop by myself in a hammock and alone. And I didn't speak enough Spanish to communicate, so I felt like really secluded.
I thought you had like another Spanish boy in the hammock with you.
Moving on. So I realized I was so fucking angry. I was so fucking angry that I was demanding all these answers from the universe.
Yeah.
It wasn't no answers, right? Yeah. Apparently when you're demanding and when you are demanding that, like, I didn't ask to be born, depression, all kinds of shit, it doesn't work. It doesn't work well. Yeah. So it's like, okay, this isn't working. The only thing I can do is just let go of being angry and just be done with that, because it's not producing results. So I let go. So that was a paradigm shift. Lots of seeking, lots of change. Went to New York City as a photographer.
Sorry, because I remember when you went. I didn't know you then, but I remember when you went to New York. So this is before then.
This is all before that, for sure. And this was that time in Panama. That was before I got divorced. So that was probably 26, 27 years old, maybe.
Okay.
And then moved in with my parents. I had leishmaniasis, a rare flesh-eating parasite. I had hepatitis A. Living with my parents, going through a divorce in Emmett.
Oof. On top of all of that, Emmett.
But my parents had a beautiful house, and they were really supportive too, so that was nice. But
wait, so your parents didn't live over here at the time?
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope, they moved from that spot in Emmett.
Shit, okay.
They lost it in the downturn. In 2008, they lost that place.
Oh.
And then I think they rented a couple places in Emmett, and then moved over here and rented.
So when I met your brother, it was probably 2012.
And they were still renting that place. They hadn't bought it yet.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
So the common denominator through it all is that I really wanted to know what was true.
Right.
And that's a hard, like, what's fucking true about the universe? Like, that's the ultimate question. It's a big one, but that was always at the forefront. And there was a lot of dysfunction and all kinds of stuff going on through it all. But so I'm in New York. Same thing, where I realized that my career is not really why I'm there. I'm there to learn things through my career and through my geographic location. Yeah. And I am. My mom gave me a book. You were doing like photography at the time. Yeah. Yeah. But barely hanging in there. Like, and I think it was so, like, now I can look back and see the perfection of it. I made just enough to hang in there. You know what I mean? For fucking years.
Isn't that what everyone in New York does?
Just enough to hang in there. There are those rare few. Well, actually, no, because most either burn out in the first year or do pretty well after a couple years.
Or they live there their whole life.
Or that's a different scenario where you have like parental support and stuff like that. Sure. Or the trust fund babies that they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So just skimming the surface of survival. And what I could afford to do was go down to the Dominican Republic. Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to relight it again.
Oh my God.
I'm crying because of the story, not because of the
Oh shit.
Sorry.
Shut up. Do you need to relight that?
No, I was trying to relight it.
You do need to relight it.
I was trying to relight it by re-smoking it. Here.
I got you, baby.
Thank you. Will you get it wet as well?
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna moisten it with my mouth right now, but
Yes. No, so that's what I was trying to do real quick was like relight it by pulling it a bunch, and then I made myself cry. God, this is a professional.
that's pretty good.
No, I like this one.
Good.
I know you remember your first cigar. I'm gonna use that.
I fucking do. I do remember my first cigar.
Okay, I'll ask
I
you
have it
about
tattooed
later,
on my leg.
but- oh, nice.
It's not my first. Anyway. So my mom gave me this book called Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Have you read it?
Yes.
I tried to read it, and this is what actually this helps me have mercy, compassion, understanding for people that I recommend something to
You're like,
that
dude,
really
you
strikes
gotta
me,
listen to this.
and they're like, like,
yeah.
and it helps because the first time I tried to read that, I was like, I hate this.
That's wild.
And the funny part is I hated it because it was so poorly written. I hated it because of his language, not because of what he was saying. And the irony was that I had to let go of that part of my ego that only read well-written books in order to get into this thing that was so fucking rich and beautiful in truth. So
You were like this.
I was because the way that I felt was like what you do in life is you continue to create deeper and deeper preferences.
Yeah.
And that makes you, I don't know, refined, intelligent. I don't know. But that book, it set me on the opposite course where I realized, so it was like 2 years later. And I could afford to weasel my way down to the Dominican Republic because it was a straight shot and it was usually like a 250 round trip ticket.
Yeah.
I'd have a backpack and I would go down there and I would take the bus and I would travel the DR. And I probably did it 5 or 6 times in a couple years or whatever.
Was this while you were living in New York?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, because it's like I feel like it's like a 3-hour direct flight from New York, from LaGuardia. So it was just like, it was one thing that I could afford to do to break up the horrid monotony of wintertime in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, especially poor. You're like, I can't fucking do anything.
Right.
I can't go to a restaurant. I can't go to a bar. I can barely get a coffee. I'm stuck in this tiny room in Bed-Stuy. So I took that book with me, and I tried to read it again. And I think it was ultimately the first time in my life that I just shut the fuck up and listened without judgment. I think that's the key is like, we can listen and see what's going on, but then we immediately meet it with judgment of some kind and try to change it, right? So it was the first time as a result of reading that, I'm like, I have to look past this bad writing. No offense, Michael Singer, because I'm sure you're watching. I have to look past this bad writing.
I love you.
I love him to death.
No, I know.
Like literally in my meditations, I'm like, Michael Singer, I honor you. He played a massive role in my life.
Bro,
dude.
we're going to Florida.
I want to go really, really bad.
No, you're gonna.
Before he leaves his body.
We're gonna go.
Yeah.
We've talked about this. Continue. Sorry.
So, sitting on this beach, in this town on the coast. It's south of Barahona, if people know the DR, but it's this little town. I met the family there. The mom or the grandma would come down in the morning and cook me breakfast on the beach.
That's
it was
really
like
cute.
a beautiful, and this family, I didn't speak enough Spanish to like have full conversations. We would literally like sit on the porch together and just like, there'd be the grandma, the mom, bunch of kids, everybody's running around, and they were, dude. So I'm sitting on the beach and I'm like, holy shit, I feel at every moment, every second of my life, I feel a low hum of fear. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Always. Because I'd never paid attention before. It's almost like a sound that's so constant that you never...
So you were shutting it
like
out
the
with
AC
everything else.
running. Like, we haven't heard it yet.
Which one? Just kidding.
Oh, it's theirs.
Hopefully they don't hear it.
So,
Yeah, continue.
that was my, like this aha moment of like, oh, I've been doing this exactly wrong in my intention. I need to deconstruct my ego and let go of all this bullshit because it gets in the way of me experiencing the fullness of life. So if I want to experience the fullness of life, I continue every moment to let go of my preferences, of my desires, of the resistance to negative feelings.
Yeah.
And that one in particular is one that I keep running into, is I always initially resist a negative feeling.
Yeah. Did you ever deconstruct why, like that? So once you discovered fear, did you just discover like why you were afraid, or, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things I discovered was that it wasn't as important to discover why something was happening if you're able to let go of it without that need. I do think there's a place, because we are fully human in form with minds, and there's a place for psychology for sure.
Yeah.
I think typically with specific traumas and stuff like that. But this wasn't about that. This was just about this low hum of uncertainty and maybe self-doubt, and I have to keep trying to control everything or it's all going to fall apart. And then to feel like, oh my God, it's not going to fall apart. If I let go, the universe will take better care of me than I can take care of myself. And since I read that book, which was probably 8 years ago, I feel like I'm just now really grasping that concept. Like knowing it.
Yeah. Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
That was 8 years ago when you discovered that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just for timeline, so you were still in New York, you discovered that then. Then how long did it take, like, till you moved back? Because you were still in New York a while, right?
Yeah, I moved back to Boise in March of 2020. So got married.
You moved in March?
Yeah.
That's like height of COVID, right?
Yes. I think I brought it here. I'm a little concerned.
Dude, I had a few people that told me that I brought it here, so.
So I got married in 2019 in December, and so at that time, and
So
even
you met her in New York then? Or,
yeah. So even at that time and before, fortunately she had presented the idea of like, what if we moved to Boise? We were both, I think, pretty burned out. She was burned out because she felt like she had achieved what she went to New York to do, and it turned out it didn't mean shit, and she was exhausted, and she made great money, but she didn't care. It didn't do anything for quality of life. And I was fucking done too. Like, and then so then COVID hit in March. We were gonna move in the summer probably, and then COVID hit. All my work that I had scheduled was gone.
Yeah.
And it was such a weird, as they said over and over, unprecedented time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're literally going to shut down the bridges and just quarantine us on the island and not let anybody leave.
Yeah.
So let's fucking go. So we drove across the country.
It's like Dark Knight Rises.
We had a going away party. I don't know why I quoted that, because it turned into like a Molly party, cuddle fest.
Molly.
It was so much fun, but we all got COVID. We all got COVID, right?
How many of you died?
Nobody died.
Fuck yeah. That's what we want.
I actually don't know if I don't think anybody even got really sick from that first case there. Great night, but I think there were 10 of us there. Anyway, so then we started driving, I want to say 2 days after that, and the morning I woke up to start driving with a dog, 2 cats, and a trailer, I was like, man, I don't feel great.
Wait, you drove on the Molly calm down?
2 days later.
Okay, I was going to
2
say,
days
that's
later.
impressive. To do a...
I also don't
I
really
could
have a
do
come
that.
down.
You don't do enough Molly.
No. No, I do the correct amount of Molly, cost-benefit ratio-wise.
Do you read that on the back of the label or what?
I've only done Molly maybe 6 times.
That's why.
Yeah. So anyway, so we start the drive, and I'm stressed out of my mind. I haven't slept. We just packed a trailer with our apartment. I've never driven with a trailer. So there we go across the country.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, it kind of makes sense that I feel run down.
Yeah.
3 days into the drive, and I feel like that's our last day or second to last day. Alex is like, Tank just farted and it smells fucking terrible. I'm like, I can't smell anything. Like anything. And then I started to think, I was like, oh, I can't smell anything.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Do you lose your taste too?
Yeah. I could taste, dominant, like salt.
Yeah.
So then we had to figure out, because we were going to move into my sister and brother-in-law's place. They have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So we're 8 hours out and we're making calls and we're like, where are we going to go?
We got COVID, bro.
We got COVID. Where are we going to go? So my uncle was living with my parents. My uncle moved out into an Airbnb. No, my uncle moved back to Baltimore. My parents moved into the Airbnb that he was renting. We moved into their house for a few days. They needed their house back. Some acquaintance on Facebook, and I forgot her name. But she was like, my parents own a cabin in Garden Valley. You can go quarantine in that. So we literally got to quarantine in this beautiful cabin in Garden Valley from some people we didn't know and had never met. Hot tub, the whole deal.
God,
it
hot
was
tubs
fucking
are
wonderful.
coming up a lot in your life. Have you been manifesting hot tubs?
No, it's because we have one in our new place. I really like it.
Okay, dude, I gotta piss.
I'm sure you do. This whole question was about how I shifted from resistance to meditation to looking forward to it, or whatever. So once we moved here, that was a slow progression. There was no like distinctive event, but I just got more and more curious. And I was reading more books. Oh, here's the two. I had 2 paradigm shifts in the last year and a half. You're an animal.
Oh no!
Did you inhale it?
No, I was trying to relight it.
All right.
Didn't work.
No.
I didn't know if it was.
I want to relight mine.
Okay. Yes, because we were on the track of paradigm shift. So yes, continue.
I cannot recommend this book enough, but even so, I've recommended it to people that have been meh about it. So it's just...
You're talking about Untethered Soul.
No. The book I'm about to mention. I read the book Letting Go by David Hawkins.
Love it. This is the first one that you ever recommended to me. Okay, yeah.
So, and I recommend it all the time because I feel like the concept itself and how he approaches it and unpacks it is so fucking fundamental to human existence.
Changed my life.
The concept of letting go, which sounds very simple, but in practice it's not as simple or not as easy. It's simple but difficult, right? Yeah?
It is. So that's the difference. So simple does not mean easy. Simple is like basic, but like...
Simple is love everyone and tell the truth.
Right. But that doesn't mean easy. Same with like the way I would recommend it is like, it's simple. Do 700 push-ups. That is simple. Those are simple things. That does not mean that 700 push-ups are easy. So that's the difference.
So I feel like it's similar in that way. It's also so contrary to our general human conditioning and then our specific cultural conditioning.
Yes.
Our culture is like, control everything you can possibly fucking control.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll be happy when you retire. I don't know what the end game is there, but everything is about control.
Yeah.
Letting go is the opposite, where you're acknowledging what's true. I feel, especially the shitty, like for me, jealousy is one of the shittiest emotions because it's so small and so like it's like gross, right? So to go ahead and look at jealousy and not try to change it, and just feel it and allow it, and then you find that it passes.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you have to interact with. It's almost like a bully on the subway.
Oh.
You just let it pass through and then it's done. But if you engage with that bully, you're in it, dude. Like
Right.
then you're fully engaged in whatever happens. But
Yeah.
so I read Letting Go when we were traveling through Europe, and it was we're traveling through Germany and Switzerland.
This is
And
before you moved back. Sorry.
this is no, thank
timeline.
you.
Yeah.
This is a year ago.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, because we were in Munich for Oktoberfest.
Yeah. So
on accident.
So you guys moved back already, and then you went, and then okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
There's more life stuff to
Sure,
that, but
sure.
it's less relevant, right?
I want to know every detail.
It's less relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about like pivotal shifts.
Just the pivotal, there's material shifts that were really substantial as a result of the inner shifts, and good people. But I got to read that book at a time when it was a luxury. I was just in nice hotel rooms on beaches in Spain and shit. So it was such a
Classic.
such a classic. Just on a spiritual journey, baby.
I'm just on my spiritual journey on this beach. Me and my wife.
It wasn't my wife. It was actually my good buddy Mark Ciccarello. Yeah. It was just the twos of us.
Like I said, my wife. I'm just kidding.
So reading that book. So I think like there's I feel like there's debates about, is it better, you know how like a Buddhist monk goes into a cave. Like people are like, well, what good is that doing? But I think we need those times in the cave. We need those times outside of our normal behavior patterns, right? Because we get to address things in a different way, and we have a space to do that. So I think that this was kind of that space, and then I could bring that knowledge and clarity back into the normal routine of things. Hugely transformative.
Oh.
Just like it was for you, right?
It's very much so.
Question, how do you feel like, some of what you learned, it's like second nature at this point?
No, I do
Still
not.
intentional?
Yes. So, just how you talked about how when you read Michael Singer 8 years ago, it's just now coming through.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm still in that process of coming through. Like, I read that book because of you, and thank you, but it's still a process. Like, I don't know, I haven't shown you my mirror, but I have it bold on my mirror, let go. I look at it every day. Like, and it's still like a little bit of a battle. Because
is
like,
it difficult
you're like,
to remember to do it?
So here's the thing, for me, is like, I'll read something. And this is how I go with all books. And some books are more important, or some like teachings. I don't want to say books, but like a concept is really important. But then it's important in that moment, and then I start to forget. And that's why I wrote that one specifically on my mirror.
I think that's brilliant.
Do you know? Okay, so do you know that
you have this like mischievous look? Like, oh, do you know Samantha?
I am about to tell you something really mischievous.
Okay.
That look is really stupid, actually. Joe got let go on his wrist. Have you seen this?
Joseph Lau?
Yeah.
No. Did he read that book?
Yes, he's just started because of you.
Oh man, I love.
Got it
how
right
that works,
here,
dude.
and I was
okay.
So, and I was like, I need that constant reminder, and so I was like, dude, can I copy your tattoo? So I'm gonna get a tattoo right here.
I might too,
dude.
I don't give a shit. I'm on the
I want
bandwagon,
to,
baby.
Dude.
Oh yeah, I got space.
Yeah, you have. Yeah. You don't have a lot of space. You have
No.
space, dude. I literally asked him. So we went to we went to dinner, and he showed me. He's like, and I was like, dude, are you reading the book? He's like, yeah, Dan showed me. I was like, hell yeah. And I was like, who got it? Or who tattooed you? I want the exact, like, first off, because I was like, dude, I sound like a copycat, but can I copy your tattoo? And he's like, yeah. Of course you can. Yeah. So I was like, so I'm gonna get it like right here.
Oh, I just saw him last night, and he was busy, but he didn't mention it.
No, dude.
That's
Yeah. So
awesome, man.
it's just like it's just like type. It's just like
I
typewriting.
think that's great.
Let go.
I have no letters on me.
So I'm more into lettering. So I had like, cause I want to do like I like art, but I also want certain things to remind me of things. And he was like, I want it somewhere I can see. I want to see this. And I already have a concept. I don't know if I've told you about this, but I want gratitude and acceptance. Gratitude and presence. So I wanted something on this hand of presence, and I wanted something on this hand of gratitude. So I still am trying to figure out like what I want to put like on those hands, because hands are like a big deal. But regardless, as soon as he showed me this, I was like, dude, please let me copy you. And he's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, dope. Okay, I want that. It's because I want his concept is like, I want to see it every day. Like, because if you have a tattoo here, you don't see it every day, right? So I want something in this area of myself where I see things. I want them to be important to me, not to anyone else. Like, I really like all my other tattoos, but I want the things that I see the most to remind me of the most things that I like really feel passionate about. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get a little letting go tattoo. And he's like, yeah, I just started the book, and I'm like, I really need this.
I also think that the first half of that book is the most valuable. I literally last week just listened to the first, they're like short chapters, right? I listened to the first like 5, like the fundamentals of letting go. And I'm like, oh my God, yes. Because I found myself resisting emotions more.
So for anyone listening, the book Letting Go by, do you know the author?
David Hawkins.
Okay. So I would highly recommend it. Like please do yourself a favor and listen to it. And this was a book that I really wanted to read again, but I have already suggested it to a couple people. But you were the first person that turned me on to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
what's funny is I'd never heard of it. I was in Salt Lake City doing a photo shoot for this woman, and she recommended it. It's just weird how these things, knowledge cycles like that, like the ripple effect. And when somebody fucking gets it, they really get it.
Okay, let me ask you a question. So do you think, I know we haven't talked about this on this, but given your experiences with psychedelics, especially your recent one, do you think that there is a greater, do you think there is a reason why you experienced it when you did, or a reason why you were introduced to this the way and how you did, or the reason why you showed me this, and it was because it came at a time when I needed it. And so this is some of that woo-woo that I resisted because I left religion. I'm like, dude, I think I needed this at this time. And me and Dan started having these conversations right when I fucking needed it, And so do you think that there is is that like a greater push for you needed that at the time, or is this all? I think I don't mean to say that it's all or nothing, but
no, I think that people really like to say, some people really like to say, well, everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
And in a lot of ways, what's weird about getting deep into spirituality is there are so many paradoxes, because you can believe one thing and then this opposite thing, but they're both actually true.
Yeah.
And during my DMT trip, I experienced simultaneous predestination and free will. I was like, now that makes sense. Because if you're looking at it from outside of time, then it fucking works. Because you're not in time. But we cannot conceptualize, maybe without deep, deep meditation or psychedelics. There are ways to get there, or near-death experiences.
Sure.
Then you get into this, you get to the other side of the veil where you're like, oh fuck, that's actually really simple.
Yeah.
But it's not in a way that you can convince anybody, because it's not something that you've worked out in your mind. It's something that you've experienced.
Right.
So in that way, I think that things happen when they need to happen.
Yeah.
And I tell that to people that maybe don't click with whatever methodology that I might work for me. I'm like, well, the right thing at the wrong time is just still the wrong thing. Like, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You will do this when you're fucking ready. It's the same, like, I talked to my wife about her spiritual progression, or, you know, you'll get there when you're ready. Like, we are two fundamentally different human beings that are responding differently to our environment. So it's okay that you're not responding in the same way that I am to this information. You're going to respond when you're ready, in the way that you're ready to respond. And it's the same with you with meditation.
Yeah.
When you're ready, you'll be like, oh, you'll just be like, oh, I'm ready. And that might mean you still experience resistance.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, I'm ready to work through that. You know? Yeah.
So, speaking of this conversation, so I have fallen. I've fallen in love with Michael Singer and everything he represents. Mm-hmm. And I actually read the Surrender Experiment before I ever met you, like in
and that
person.
was my last shift, which made me realize that I was only dabbling, like I was only dipping my toes in spirituality, but really wanted to maintain most control. After I read that book, I was like, I'm fucking going for it.
Yeah.
And the degree of growth that has occurred in the last 6 months is fucking outstanding.
And I have seen that with you.
Jesus Christ.
And so when we first talked about this book was easily before 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. So like that was like when you first read. So Michael Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul, is a book about dealing with the chatter in your head. Basically, is like that's the book that you were talking about where you're like, I can't get past the writing, right?
Yeah.
You know. So
He's not a gifted writer. But the concepts are fucking...
But I had a very different experience with that book because I had read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I struggled with it. And I like the concepts.
Yeah.
I like the so for anyone who's not who doesn't understand The Power of Now, for the 10 people that are listening to this at this point,
Mom.
Yeah, I always assume that there's probably only like 10 to 15 people that go through this entire podcast. So, and
I'd be impressed.
Yeah, me too.
Good. You have like
good for you.
Patience and perseverance.
But yeah, so I when The Power of Now, the first time I read it, couldn't do it. Left it for a couple of years, and that was my struggle. Like, I think the concepts are brilliant. I went back and I started to understand it more. And Joe and I had actually talked about this book a lot because we resonated on Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now. And it still was a hard concept to grasp. You know, like the way he talks, and he is a brilliant like person, but I couldn't understand how he was explaining the ego and past and future, etc.
Yeah.
So when I read Untethered Soul, it felt like a down-to-earth kind of American version of what, like, these spiritual concepts.
Which is why it's a New York Times bestseller, because it's palatable.
He broke it down. It's palatable. And I was just like, oh, and he's quirky. He's a little silly. He's funny. And I was just like, now I get it. And I was able to understand those concepts broken down. Look, I explained it as my dumb brain. I was like, I don't know these things, and he was able to break it down really simply. It's like, yeah, there's the ego, and it's think about the chatter, think about like blah blah blah. And one of the things that was stuck with me in the book, he's just like, you ever see that guy like walking down the street and he's like talking? He's like, we all do that, we just don't say it out loud. And I was like,
he followed this person, right, as they were talking to themselves.
Yeah. But they're like, if they're talking aloud to themselves, you think they're crazy.
Yeah,
it's that crazy guy that's walking down the street talking to themselves like, rah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. You're not this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're like all those chirps, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's what we all do. We all have that, but it's in our brain. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I understood the ego. Like, and I couldn't understand it when Eckhart Tolle totally like explained it. So my first experience with Untethered Soul was actually like easily acceptable, and I was like, yes. And so then when you turned me on to the Surrender Experiment, which is his life, like kind of bio, I was like, holy shit. Like, and so I am still in that process of like digesting what he said in his, so this is another Michael Singer book that I highly recommend. This is something that I would recommend potentially is, I think that I would recommend if I were to recommend somebody who doesn't really dabble with like what we're talking about, I would actually suggest Michael Singer's The Surrender Experiment first, and then I would recommend Letting Go.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's more of a story.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people can't read like a self-help that much. They're like, I don't, you know, like it's too much. But the Surrender Experiment is like a story.
Yeah.
It's like let me tell you about my life. And I really like that. It's more palatable for like a person who doesn't dabble with like this. Yeah. So I'm like, because I've been recommending it to a couple of people, and I was like, dude, you should listen to Surrender Experiment, because it's actually an enjoyable, just like I do Audible, so I listen, but like just listen to it. You know, it's fun. It's a fun read. It's fun.
That's one of the first physical books I had read in a couple of years.
Okay.
And then after that, then I was like, oh, I'm going full steam. So I started reading a bunch. I started reading Rumi. I've got the Bhagavad Gita that I'm reading. I'm like reading a bunch of shit.
Yeah. But that's hard to like jump into if you haven't been into it.
Because it's a practice. Like if you have, you're not just going to dive right into the Inferno. You know what I mean? If you're not a reader. Like, what I want to ask is, in the Surrender Experiment, what's right now the first thing that jumps out to you about that book that stuck with you?
The thing that jumps out to me, at least right now, is the hardest part is actually surrendering, because I have a narrative of what I want to do, and I do think it is easier for me to shift because I have shifted a few times, and I think it's because I'm a creative and I constantly
Part
shift.
of being a creative is adapting.
Yeah. And I'm like, I wanted to try this, and then I get bored with something. I'm like, it's not for me. Yeah. Like when I picked up the camera, I'm like, dude, I want to like really do this, and I still do. I do want to create cool shit. One of my goals in life is to potentially create like a small film, like do something, like create an air. I like creating, but I still like what I've learned is like, oh well, I also have my music background, so I'm like, I can create the score. I could direct, but I'm like, do I need to be the most the best what do you call the guy who holds the camera? Cinematographer.
DP, cinematographer.
Yeah. So do I need to be that? No. But like I maybe I would rather just step back and like, hey, I have this idea. Can you just make this happen, right? But then I'm like, dude, is that really what I like want to do or need to do? I don't know. And so I'm like, when I listened to Michael Singer's book, I was like, why don't you go with the flow? Keep learning what you're doing. I really like learning what I'm doing. Like, keep learning the video stuff. Keep learning the audio stuff. Keep learning the stuff. But maybe you're not that person. And this, like, obviously, this right now really resonates with me. Like conversations with people, getting like vulnerabilities out, etc. Maybe this isn't even the end goal. So like, it doesn't matter. Just let it go. So let go with. Like, what if I'm doing this for a period and then something else takes place?
So the way that I'm phrasing that now in my own life is I'm saying, be as present and open-hearted as you possibly can and respond to your environment. Just respond.
No.
And because Michael Singer, he wanted to meditate in the woods in Florida by himself. That's what he wanted, but he had to get out of his own way, and opportunities showed up that required him to actually push, which was interesting. Do you remember when he needed a loan, that construction loan?
Mm-hmm.
He went to 19 different banks. So he wasn't like just sitting back, but he was responding, and his heart was open enough to where he understood, like, okay, this is something that I feel like I need to do. So at the last bank, he's like, okay, well, if this last bank doesn't work, I'm going to take that as like, great job, but this is not the direction you need to go. And then he gets lucky, and the president gives him a loan that he would never give anybody else. And then his construction business takes off. So I think that's a misconception, is like when you surrender, when you let go, you're just sitting around on your thought, like you're just not doing anything. And that's not the way it works. There are times when you're going to be really busy, maybe really fully engaged, because that's what your incarnation needs at that time. You need to fully engage, and you need to create something.
So anyone who's listening should read the book, The Surrender Experiment. One of the things that I really liked about, so he realized that he's like, dude, I think I wanna go into this plot of land in the woods and meditate.
That sounds like a dream to me right now, dude.
So he goes into this plot of land, and then he leaves for some reason. I think it was teaching or something.
He was teaching.
And then when he came back, people were building
just building on his property without his permission.
And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
With that, like, that's not his words, but that's the vibe I got. He's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? So everything in him is just like, why are you doing this? Get the fuck, like, no.
He met with resistance. He felt his resistance, but
and then he talked to them, and they're just like, yeah, we just feel so called to, like, continue with this. And then he's just like, so this opportunity was presented, and he's like, am I going to tell them no, get out, or am I going to be like, you know what, okay, allow it?
Yeah.
And so there has to be a balance, because you can't say yes to every single thing. At the
core of it is awareness and a sensitivity to the universe, which is the open-heartedness, right? You're going to be able, not everybody just has an open heart that's intuitive like that, but it can be developed.
Yeah.
Ram Dass said, start with whatever you do love and expand from there.
Yeah.
And you can develop that sensitivity, intuition, whatever it may be, that is like, because he knew enough to know that if he said no to these people, he was saying no to the universe.
Right.
And that was against his experiment of surrender.
Yeah. And that is what is beautiful about him, about this whole thing, was like, he did commit to, I will say yes to the universe. And so it is fascinating to watch. And I'm not sure that I've said yes to this yes to everything that like is presented, but like I'm trying, and I think this is like a process. But it is very magical, because I like, even since I read that book, it gave me a sense of peace. I was like, you know what? I think it's still working.
That one's, I can see the red dot.
Yeah. That's working. I heard a beep, so I just want to make sure it's going. Fuck yeah. So there's this sense of like, so this is what I like, ever since that period, like that I read the book and like all this, I'm like, you know what? Yes. And so I'll say yes to experience, and sometimes that experience doesn't work out. I'm like, okay, so what did
that's the thing, is like, it's not about it working out. You're not saying yes to a particular outcome.
Right.
You're saying yes, I'm going to put myself in this position, and I'm going to allow whatever occurs to occur. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part.
Hard.
You have to let go of the outcome.
Yeah. Dude,
dude. Oh, it's fucking hard.
It is really hard. I think that you're probably further along the journey than I am in this, because you've been doing the craft. Like, so you've been a photographer for what? 10 years, 12 years?
Yeah.
And
15.
Yet when I talk to you now, you're like, doesn't matter if I ever shoot again. And that, like, I don't even know if I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can handle that. Like, I put all of this heart and soul into this. How the fuck am I ever, like, what if that's not, like, just go with it. And then if you were to talk to somebody, say a person that is a father of 4, that decides to be like, okay, I'm going to listen to the universe, and then they have to shift a career, or like they're like, maybe this career isn't for you. Like that is really hard, especially when you have people rely. I think that is a hang up for a lot of people, like the stability of how do I feed these kids or whatever, and then okay, well, I'm just going to trust that like wherever the universe takes me.
I could never advise someone when their decision might affect other people adversely. I could never advise that because that is so specific.
Yeah.
That individual is responsible to respond to their heart, right? And sometimes, many times, people do such shitty things under the pretense of like, well, that's what where my heart led me. Probably not, dude. Like, probably your dick led you to that, or your, you know what I mean? Like, that's
Me,
yeah.
my dick leads me to 90%.
It wants to run the show, bud. I
does.
know that, dude. It really does.
Dude, it does.
Yeah, man.
Oh no.
But that's, that's where if you're practicing, I am not my desire. I don't have to do everything my desire tells me to do.
Yeah.
I can use some wisdom in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of my move to New York. Actually, that was a huge part. Was like, I'm 30 years old, I'm single. This isn't going to hurt anyone else for me to go to New York and crash and fail and live on a bench for a month before I get to go home and like live with my parents again, right? I think if I had a wife, kids, anything else, probably wouldn't have happened,
Sure. So one of my hang-ups currently is, this is something I'm stoked to talk to you about, was like the hang-up of, I have this desire to, I'm like, I feel like I'm meant for something more, and I want to achieve greatness.
Why?
Hear me out.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, no, this is why I want to, like, because I know you will, like, deconstruct this. But, like, so I'm like, dude, I can't have kids. And so I will never be able to instill in the children what I want for the next generation. So I want to instill in, I lean into, like, I want to mentor at some point in my life, whether it's now or whether it's in 5 years or 10 years. I want to set a path.
I feel like calling too, actually. Yeah.
So I have this feeling of like, I want to show whoever is like inspired by me or just like listens to me, to show them something. But then I also feel the ego be like, but I also want to have, like, I want people to recognize me for who I am. I want people to think I'm funny. I want people to like recognize that I came from this and I went here, right? So balancing like what I like the ego wants and then what I like the truth of what I want. And like, I don't know how to, like, I'm still navigating this path. And obviously, given what I'm doing right now, I am working hard on this, but I'm like, for what? Because I believe that I can create a perspective that maybe isn't always heard, but then I'm like, is it because I want people to value what I'm saying? Or is it because of my greater purpose of what I like want to show people? And so how do I check all of that ego and still push forward?
You certainly don't check it all at once. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Because I think there are a rare few people, like Michael Singer, I think is a pretty good example where his ego diminished or melted like pretty early on, but he did the work, dude. At the beginning, it was he he had a fiance, went through a breakup. That was
Yeah.
the whole beginning.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times what we feel called to do will actually act as a method for freedom from that part of our ego too, because it's simultaneously something that will feed that ego as long as we let it,
Yeah.
but also kind of what we're meant to do. You know what I mean? I feel
do.
like it's so perfectly orchestrated that it's going to do both. So it's not, I feel like it's a mistake to not continue along that path that you are inspired to go along because your ego is involved. And I think that's where meditation or mindfulness or mantra or reading, whatever it may be, comes into play, because as long as you can continue to learn how to stay present in every moment,
Yeah.
you'll know when that ego is cropping up, and you'll be able to respond to that
Yeah.
when it's happening.
That is a I think that I'm very early on this path, and I think I have a lot to learn on my path. Dude, there's this thing that Joe Rogan says when because he came into fame later on, did all this stuff, blah 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 blah. But he's someone I look up to as a podcaster and as a conversationalist, and I think he's done a lot of good in introducing all sorts of perspectives into the world, right?
Yep.
So there was something that was said where they're like, how do you deal with fame? How do you deal with you were still so humble, you're still so blah blah. He's like, a lot of mushrooms. And I was like, yeah, maybe, because you have to check your own ego, and the mushrooms do that. In a lot of ways.
They bring you to a space where you understand how little shit matters on a certain level. It just doesn't matter. My perspective on fame, although I've never had it, is that it's a lot like buying a new car, where when you first start driving that car, you are that car, and you're thinking about how everybody's looking at you in your new car. But then you have that car for 6 months, and you forget about the car, and it's something that gets you around. So I feel like fame, if somebody has any wisdom or grounding, can act like that a little bit, where it's like, okay, that's old now.
Yeah. I resonate with, have you ever heard Jim Carrey say...
I love Jim Carrey so fucking much, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking love him.
Dude, me too.
Because the same thing where he's like, I'm really glad that I got this. I got where I am and realized that it doesn't mean anything.
Yes. So that is the thing and he says, I wish that everyone could experience this just so then they could realize that that's not enough, and then they could realize, okay, so now what am I supposed to be doing? Where is my...
I feel like it's less about doing and more about, well, who am I?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I mean, it does to me, but it does... Actually, it doesn't to me.
Okay.
I understand the concept.
Have you ever watched the I Heart Huckabees?
No. But you and I talk about this, and it is a struggle. This is another struggle of mine. Okay, so it is a struggle of I want to be doing something.
Yeah.
And you're and more of the Buddhist sense, no, we're being we're just being.
We are.
Yes, exactly.
We are.
And there's those disconnects where I'm like, fuck, man, I want to just but I also want to do.
Yeah.
And that push pull is still a struggle for me.
Yeah.
But and I think that he talks about it well. But when somebody else has already done it and done both, telling somebody who hasn't done both, you're like, I see that, I appreciate that, but I still haven't done both, so I don't know.
See, for me, I've always, and this is not, it's not prideful anyway, because it's just how I was made, where I like to learn hard lessons from other people.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to learn all those hard lessons myself.
Yeah.
And if I can listen to other wise people and avoid some suffering, I'm going to fucking do that. Now, he also said that he hit a point where he realized, I am enough, I've done enough. There's a third part to it. But I'm like, I love that. And I feel like we can live that right now.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't stop us from doing other things. It stops us from feeling pressure or personal identification with those things that we're doing.
Yeah.
They're just, Ram Dass says, like, we're here, we might as well take the curriculum. So like that's really all that is you don't have to do anything to be whole.
Yeah.
No external action is going to make you whole. You're fucking whole. Spending time in that place of fullness, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Then you're going to do fucking incredible things from that place of fullness, and they're just things that you've done, and they're great.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because this is another thing I've struggled with for years. So there is, I've thought about this for easily a solid decade, but it's like I've often asked people, if money wasn't an issue, what would you do, or what would you do with your day, or like how would you experience? So the problem with most people, or like our human existence, is, okay, so if I'm not going to be doing anything, I still need to survive. So do I survive by planting seeds and growing crops? Do I survive by going to the factory and working and being completely happy? Or do I chase an art? Like what I'm like doing currently is chasing art to pay my bills. How does one exist? How do I... Momo. You can't even see him because he's like a dark cat. Black cat.
Oh shit.
Momo's
yeah,
a
yeah,
black
yeah.
cat. Yeah.
So what's the question? Are you asking?
So I'm asking, not that you have an answer, but like, so one of the things that as a creative or as a person existing, like, okay, so I want to delve into just being, going with the flow, but I still have to pay my bills, and I still have to, like,
I wrestled with this for sure.
yeah, I think that's most people, like in general, like you're like, okay, dude, I want to dive into these spiritual concepts, or I want to, I want to make my art, whatever. That art doesn't put the bread on the table. So then you get put on the pressure of, well, you got to fucking pay for shit. I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my bills. I got to buy that food. And so those are the questions now that I struggle with, and I think that a lot of people do. It's just like, but how do you still survive and still be?
No, but
You know what I'm saying?
my
Do you
first-
hear what I'm saying?
No, I
You know,
do.
like,
There's multiple levels to this. One is,
how do I pay for the cigar first off?
hold on, quick. You want to ash that off a little bit? It'll light better. Because otherwise, you have to literally melt all the ash.
Luckily, we have a
Before you
second
light.
cigar.
There you go.
Dude, these are really nice to like smoke this all the way down. Shout out to Chicago. These are really nice.
Initially, what you do is you do your best. You do your best to figure it out. Like if you've gone far enough to recognize that staying present is valuable, you do your best, because what's going to happen is as you spend more time being present, you start to realize that there is no distinction between doing and being. You can be wholly and completely present. And I'm not saying that I'm in this state, but I know that it's true because of how far I've come.
Yeah.
Where I spend the majority of my time at this point in my life aware of my body and my breath. Right now, during this conversation, I'm aware of my body. I'm aware of what my ego is doing. I'm aware of how I want to be seen. And as I'm speaking, I'm actually letting go of that.
Speaking to your ego, you look phenomenal. Like, this lighting is nice.
Oh, Josh. See, that's the last thing I want to think about, too.
I know.
It's like, I don't care.
I'm just
But you get to where you spend enough time in presence that you don't leave presence to do anything. You know what? I went camping by myself in June. We were in the middle of packing to move to a new house.
Yeah.
And I was so stressed. I experienced my first introduction to panic attack. And there was so much happening that I didn't have the capacity to keep letting go. It was all building. And I went to the mountains by myself. It was me and Tank, my little ego. And the first day I did mushrooms, and I just meditated. And I'd never done that before, where I literally like sat in a chair long enough to watch the sun move from one side to the other.
Yeah, okay.
It's a fascinating experience.
Yeah.
That entire day, my mind wouldn't shut the fuck up. And I was straight up frustrated. I was like, I am so sick of listening to this. Like, just shut the fuck up. Slept, woke up, did acid and Molly. Because I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the Molly to give myself a fucking fighting chance of at least having a positive attitude about this, right? So I did acid and Molly.
I do agree that works very pleasantly.
And I found just rest in that place. And for the first time I really understood what it was to be the witness, because in that state I could be completely aware of the center of my being and the little bit of chatter that was still going on and the sound of some fucking people that I was irritated with, which was hilarious because I'm there finding peace and love in the universe. I'm like, shut the fuck up, guys. I'm trying to love everybody here. All right, if you could just like, God, why do you gotta be camping? And I'm laughing at myself. So I was simultaneously fully aware and aware of every sound around me, and I was able to just watch it.
Yeah.
I just watched it without judgment for my judgment of the other people. I was like, oh, interesting thing that the ego is doing right now. So I think you get to this place where you just find it kind of funny and curious what the ego keeps trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. One of my requests was that I said, I've been praying to Spirit. I say, Spirit, what I would really like to be able to do is fully engage and commit to my work without feeling all the negative emotions that have always come along with that before in my life.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's my request right now. I want to be able to fully engage. I want to be able to, I kind of want to be able to make money for the first time in my life, but not make it the center of anything.
Yeah.
I just want to like help my wife through school, and I want to create a bit more material freedom.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing that I was able to do was I left there with like, you know what? This might have zero effect on my life. I accept that. I honor it. The time was beautiful, and I honor it. But it had a dramatic effect, where it was the first time in my life that I was able to be busy almost every day and stay present in all of that busyness and all those demands of moving and having multiple jobs. And it was a really freeing time. And the material progression has been really interesting to watch. Fuck, dude, it's just like it happens when it happens. There's no way you can. I think the more you try to make anything like that happen, the less it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I logically agree, and fundamentally still struggle. I'm like,
how does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it happens to you. Mm-hmm. That's really what happens. It's like you allow something to occur in your life. You're not making it happen.
Wow. One of the things that I really love about, I know we've been talking about Michael Singer a lot, which I think that we would. One of the things he said at the premise of the surrender experiment, which I really, really like resonate with, of like, he's like, dude, this Earth, not even just Earth, but universe, has been around for billions of years. And the human existence has been around for easily millions. And to think as one individual that we have control, that we can control what happens to us is very, like, that's very, I don't know what the word is, but it's folly, but like fallicious, whatever that is. But it's like, we think that in this moment that as a man or as a woman, we're going to just control everything and bend the universe to our will, when this thing has been happening without us for this amount of time. Like, obviously that, like, it's been happening longer than we've ever existed. So that was a very good premise to me. That's what really drew me into that, like, that book in the first place. That premise of like, do I think that I really have control of my own life when all of this shit has been happening for so long? It's a very beautiful statement, but I was like, oh fuck. Like, do I think that if I, like, for me, it's like I don't really resonate with like 4 a.m. or like, like, if you do this, then you'll be like successful to what? Like there's always going to be like bigger forces at play, and that doesn't mean like, that doesn't even have to mean like a god or anything. It's just like this massive cosmic experience is way beyond our control. So like, are we going to fight to do something, or are we like, you know what, I'm actually going to, it's kind of like people talk about riptides in the ocean. It's like, you can fight all you want, but like you can't swim against the riptide. No, you have to let it, and then like go with the flow, and then if you can not
and
fight,
trust that it comes around.
And that's what like people will teach on the like, not that I know that much, but like, you can't fight the riptide, so you have to like go with the flow, and then like conserve your energy. Don't fight the forces of nature, and then allow yourself to like. So that's like, in this life, sometimes you're like, no, I'm supposed to be like, for me, I'm like, I'm supposed to be a famous this, or oh, I'm supposed to do this.
I had that when I moved to New York, which was like, I want to have the cover of Vanity Fair. But the reality is, I think the only reason I wanted that was to feel like I'm worth something, and as a result of others' validation, thinking I'm fucking great.
Yeah.
And it just never sat well. And I didn't get it anyway, so whatever.
But if you did, it probably still wouldn't sit
well.
well.
I think about that too. I think about like, it was heartbreaking for me to not be a successful photographer in my own mind, right? Other people look at
from the outside, I'd be like, dude, that guy deserves to be on Vanity Fair, right?
But, and I actually still believe that I have the ability to be that good.
Sure.
But there's a reason that I didn't get those breaks, and I feel so grateful that I did now. I don't think I would have been able to handle it, and I don't think it would have been best for me.
Yeah.
But I do think that if it would have been good or neutral for me, I could have done that.
Yeah.
Because the universe doesn't fucking care about that shit. Like, Michael Singer ended up making millions of fucking dollars on accident, basically. Yeah. And he just is like, okay, whatever, you know. It's fascinating, dude.
Dude, it is very fascinating. I don't even... Sorry.
Well, I wanted to ask you something. With your experience, and by the way, like you said, you're new. Like, I recognize that I am an infant in this process. Infant. And I love that. That's fucking great, because I have so much ahead of me, so much in me that I haven't discovered. I think it's fucking beautiful. I'm doing the best that I can to help other people with what I have to offer, right? I am. I don't want to mislead anybody, and I don't want to overspeak. But with your new experience of letting go, have you noticed a surplus of energy?
No, I think I'm low on tea. I feel
We
tired.
talked about that. Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
tired.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I haven't. Okay, so I'm being a little cheeky, but when I first really dove into this concept, it gave me a lot of freeing sensibility. And one of the things that you said to me, it was in our I think it was in our first conversation, because I was diving deep into, I had quit the bar. I think we talked in like February, March of this year, when we first like really sat down and talked. I think it was about February, March. So I was like just into it, and I'm like, I'm throwing everything I can into photo video, and you were like kind of complete opposite. You're like let
Just
it,
tone it down.
right.
Yeah.
So that's when we first connected, and I was just like, dude, I'm like going head over heels. I'm trying for goals. I'm like going after the thing, which I don't think there is necessarily a bad thing of like
Not even a
just
little.
like jumping after what you want.
Go for it.
But when I was just like, dude, I'm afraid to take a step back and like pick up a bartending job or something to pay the bills. And I was just like, I feel that I'm scared of that being like a failure. And you were like, I don't think that you should view that as a failure. You're trying something different. You're like figuring out your steps. And you're not the first person, or you're the first person to say it, but then I've talked to other people like on this journey, and they're like, dude, just take a step back, like get some work somewhere else. Like why does that matter? And so letting go like of like expectation of like, oh, I'm just gonna dive in and I'm gonna make it, and then like it's not a failure if you have to like grab some money somewhere else or whatever, like to pay your bills. So that was my first lesson into like, it's okay to take a step back. I'm like, okay, so this didn't exactly work exactly how I wanted it to right away. And I don't know if this is answering your question, but it really helped me realize, I'm like, I was like, okay, why do I need to make it right away on my first venture into this? Am I worried? Like, why? Like, why would it matter if I have to, like, financially, like, take a step back and do this or do this? Why does that matter? Like, oh, it's the ego.
Punches the ego a little bit.
I'm embarrassed, or I don't want people to know that like I didn't figure it out right away.
Yeah.
And I told everybody I was doing this. No. Like, so, but then at the end of the game, I was like, oh fuck, well that's okay, and I've dabbled into like picking up side jobs wherever I need to because I have to pay my bills, and I'm like, I'm still at that point where I'm like, you don't have to be embarrassed, because the embarrassment is only because your ego told
Here's
you.
something I want to touch into. Sometimes when we say I don't have to feel embarrassed or anything along those lines, we're really actually resisting the feeling of embarrassment and trying to make it go away.
Yeah.
So that's part of letting go is fully experiencing that emotion, and then it goes away on its own.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a really tricky distinction because our ego is fucking slick. So it can take something really great that you've learned and twist it so it can still use it.
Yeah.
Right? Can you feel a difference there?
Yeah. Well, and like we talked about earlier, even just like saying these conversations, especially like when I know it's public, being like, yeah, this is my insecurity, and I'm learning to say it and be like, okay, that's okay too. Like, fuck, man, I haven't figured it out yet. And one thing you just said recently was, I am still a newbie. And if we take that in life, we're going to be saying this at 70. And at 70, we could have the same conversation and be like, dude, I'm still a newbie at this. And that's what a lot of the greats, the spiritual teachers, are like, dude, I'm still figuring this out.
Yeah, Ram Dass. That's something I love. So, have you listened to much Ram Dass or read much?
No, I need to.
You know, I mean, you're ready when you're ready. Whatever.
No,
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
I like the people I learn from. All learn from Ram Dass, like for the most part. But it's just like one of those things where it's just like, dude, you were caught. Like if you can't constantly humble yourself and constantly check your ego and constantly learn and constantly like, I'm only getting started. Then like, if you're not doing that,
not
like,
just accept it, but like love it. Like I get to be started. I get to be where I am. Because if you're content with where you are, you're actually going to be content for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's like that's something I really like about Michael Singer is he simplified shit so well where he's really just like have an open heart.
Yeah.
That was like the fundamental of his whole thing is have an open heart.
Yeah.
Surrender. Yeah. And if that's all anyone learns and does, they're going to live a wonderful life. You don't really have to. I think we get into a lot of this other stuff because we want we want to learn. Like that's great, keep going. But if all you ever learn is have an open heart, like you're good to go, dude.
I had a
I haven't
One
talked
of
to
the
you in
thing-
a while. Oh,
No, I actually miss this. Thank you.
I do too.
Is this?
That's for you. Yeah, and if you don't like it, don't smoke it.
I don't like it because it's square. It's rectangular.
It's called box press.
I don't like it.
Get your shit together. It's got a good mouthfeel.
I like boxes, but
Mm-hmm.
who's this guy?
Use this one. This is better.
No. What is this? Is it still
Oh.
lighter?
Yeah. I'm just gonna watch you figure that out.
I would love to.
Fucking.
Ooh, it's on the other side. Okay, but how do you know?
Fucking nailed it, bud.
Dude, there's a part of me that hates feeling like a newbie, and then there's another part of me that likes it.
Yes.
And I don't know how to bring those two together. but-
Reconcile. I feel the same way, man. The way I was raised was that, like, if you were a natural and didn't have to be taught how to do something well, then that was, like, highly valuable. So then I never learned it took me a long, long time to learn the value of, like, being bad at something and sticking with it. You know what I mean?
Dude, I was listening to this. This is so stupid.
You're not all the way lit, though. Come here, little baby. There you go.
I think that's the first time anyone has ever said that to me.
Come here, little
I'm not-
baby.
no, I'm not the only way. I'm not the whole way lit.
Oh.
Because I'm normally the whole way lit.
Your capacity to function. So, the backstory is we got a group together. This is for the massive audience that we have, but we got a group together and we did mushrooms. And we did like half a dose, right? It was not to the moon, right?
Well, I did more than you guys.
Yeah, but you talked the entire time. And 3 or 4 of us in that group, Joe could still talk, but he was nervous.
So Joe and I
He was
are very
nervous.
similar in. Okay, so
Hold on, let me finish though and then go there.
yeah.
You talked the entire time, and Thane is here
Sorry.
for about 30 minutes.
So I want to create a backstory just
Yeah,
for
all right,
everyone
go
listening.
for it.
So and then yeah. So it's me, you, Joe, Thane, Sam. There's 5 of us, right? Am I missing anyone?
Joe, Thane, Sam, and wait, yes, Sam. Yeah, okay.
So
yeah.
5 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just all took mushrooms together.
Yeah.
Your backyard.
My
Yeah.
backyard.
Like yeah.
No, that's actually the end. It's just that like I couldn't formulate a sentence. I always hit a point for like half an hour, an hour, where I can't
finish a whole sentence and the words don't work. And you were just like a chatty Cathy doll, like pulling his own string.
Oh, dude.
You were going. I was watching your knees. I'm like, he
Yeah.
has to stop doing that. Like,
And
it's like, stop.
So that was the first time that I've taken mushrooms in a group in a couple of years. Because I
Yeah.
have in general, but not at like, I've done it with friends, and like if something is too much, I said this going into it, I'm like, if anyone needs to go for a walk or whatever, like you don't have to hang out here, right? Like if you're bringing in 5, 6, 7 people into a group or taking mushrooms, people can do whatever you want. Like we don't
Yeah.
have to sit here. Like if you need to go for a walk,
Some people can't walk.
right?
I couldn't.
Sure.
I couldn't fucking get up.
So that is I in a group setting, it is a little more tricky than if you take mushrooms one-on-one with somebody, like which is what I'm used to for the most part. But
Oh, one-on-one?
yeah, like
I've never done that.
I just like I take mushrooms with it's mostly with a romantic partner, not always, but
I've never done that. How is that? Like,
I love it. Like
it would
I
be
think it's
wonderful.
very bonding. I do, but
yeah.
like normally involving nature, go camping with somebody that you love or a friend, take some mushrooms in the woods, like just it's great. But taking mushrooms in a group setting is a different beast, like because you have multiple energies. That's how you learn to navigate people a little bit. And I definitely like, yeah, you are an introvert, but that doesn't like also like that's what happens. And then like Joe and Sam's dynamic is like a different beast.
Yeah.
So when you're experiencing all that live in a mushroom experience,
Yeah.
it can be weird, it can be exciting. It can be
Wasn't
tricky,
it
like,
wonderful though? Like when we all started to come down, we got to this beautiful spot
Dude,
where we could communicate,
I loved it.
It was so nice, dude.
But what I'm saying is, as far as like the communication, which I am like I do this, but I am a talker, and when you were like, you're like you can't shut the fuck up. And
No, I
was
did
like,
not say that. I don't think that I said that. I think I said, hey, how about we have like what did my grandma call it? Quiet competition or something? And she would pay us a quarter. Anyway, but I was like, how about you just don't talk for 5 minutes? What would happen? I feel bad about that.
Dude,
I'm
you
really
don't-
sorry,
no,
dude.
you don't have to feel sorry.
Dude,
I know that I'm a talker.
I was just so heavily affected.
No.
But it was the nervousness. Like, not that you were nervous, but it was like this jumpy energy that I was like, oh my God, like that's all I can feel right now is his leg moving.
So, and this doesn't always happen for me, but a lot of times on mushrooms, it just sparks. I'm just like, it sparks this thing, and I'm like, and I felt that with Joe, where I was like, dude, we just talk all day, and I have done mushrooms with Joe, and I'm just like, dude, we just talk, like, dude, what about this? What about this? Like, it's ideas, right? And that's not for everyone, and so
No, and I was.
and because I noticed that he talked, and you remember how he was like, I'm sorry, I talked a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's how I am.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see that.
He seemed so anxious that night. Like, he seemed really restless.
Well, maybe he's just dealing with a lot in his
Well,
life,
I
and
think
that
so. But
goes for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think I was anxious in that night. But I
No, I don't think you were either.
I am a talker, for sure. And I like to I am very happy to sit here and like sit back and listen to tunes on mushrooms, for sure. But I also am a person that as soon as like people are like, hey, like, what about this? I'm like, yes, let me tell you about this, and I will jump right in. And I like, so that is a part of like my interactive thing. But we talked about this like on ketamine.
yes,
where
that's what I was
just
gonna
like,
mention. Like,
but ketamine sparks this fucking creative fire.
and
in me.
it's another one that I'm like, even if I wanted to talk or had an idea that I'd care to share, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it just...
I would say that both are okay. Like, obviously,
Of course,
like,
yeah.
like we just, I really, dude, I would really be happy to do that again because I really, like, that camaraderie was really beautiful to me. I like that, like, obviously once you settle in, that's where I think the magic happens after the come up, you know,
Yeah.
of like mushrooms, where you're like, okay, we're past that, like, oh, that was intense, and then you like settle in, you're like, let me talk to my boys, you know, like that kind of, like, a lot of the times when the creative spark or the, like, it's past that, like, come up, because that sometimes that come up is really intense.
I mean, I haven't actually done a lot. I mean, I guess it's all subjective, but for a long time, I found that initially when I would do mushrooms, even if, let's say, it's a microdose, but I could still feel it, I would feel some anxiety with that. But then afterwards, everything would quiet. It was this really weird, and I just felt like I needed to keep going there.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially since the mushroom and DMT trip a couple weeks ago, like, that's changed. And I go into even, I did mushrooms last Friday night, 1.5 grams, really good mushrooms, like full trip on 1.5 grams.
Yeah.
And I went straight to that place. Like, it was straight. But what I'm doing now is I'm treating it with more reverence is what I'm doing. Where I'm like, it feels weird at first, but literally when I have the mushrooms, I say, I honor you, and I'm grateful for the perspective that you provide. And I do them, and I have everything set out where I just meditate.
Yeah.
And I go into, like, crazy deep places. It's a different experience.
Yes. So first off, I want to say that looking at you as an individual, I would have never pictured you as a mushroom guy.
Yeah.
If I were to look at you from the outside in and see this big fucking guy that intimidates me, I'm like, this guy has mushrooms? And maybe this is in my past when I, like, because I was friends with your brother, and I would see you, and I'm like, dude, this guy is this gym guy that, like, does this shit. I would have. This is the beauty of getting to know someone for more than, like, the outside. Because I would have looked at you, and I'm like, dude, this guy is a fucker. He's gonna fuck me up. He's gonna beat me the shit. And then, as
like so far.
I know.
Like,
as soon as I get to know you, you're the most gentle soul I've ever met. And you're
isn't
just
it
like
weird? Like,
it is very strange, and I love it. Like, it's very strange how you see someone, because I only knew your brother, and I'm like, dude, your brother's very
also
similar to you, right?
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't know you.
But
Like, I only
145 pounds.
saw pictures of you, and I'm just like, dude, this is a guy who will fuck me up, and Cameron is, like, the gentle, like, version of. And then I meet you, and you're, like, the most gentle soul ever, right?
Yeah.
And, like, it is weird how you start to understand, like the surface does not even remotely entail who the person is, right?
Mm-hmm. It's also weird. I spend so much less time now thinking about how other people perceive me. So it always surprises me when people tell me that.
Yeah.
And I actually get a lot of that same, like your buddy Ricky, same thing, where he's like, dude, when I met you, I was really intimidated by you. That part I don't understand really, the intimidation, but it's like I was really intimidated, and now we're fucking great friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a benefit or a detriment, or if it's irrelevant.
I think it's
probably
what it
irrelevant,
is.
right?
Yeah. I have had this seems crazy to me, but I have had people tell me that they were intimidated by me. I was like, what?
It's
like
not
me?
about you, right? It's
Right,
about the
I'm
other
like,
person.
Dude, I was like, dude, I'm the least intimidating individual. Like,
But I can still see that because you have a self-assured energy. And I think
that sometimes
self-assured
happens. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like so, and so like yeah, a confidence comes in, but I also like obviously physical appearance comes into play when someone perceives you. So like if you walked into an environment and you're stacked, like and you walk in,
big old titties.
nobody knows you. Yeah, exactly. It's the same way. Yeah, for example, for like say a big old titty model, she's just like, oh, I just assumed that hot girl across the bar would be dumb, and she would do like she would
Or mean.
yeah,
You know what I mean? All the things we're afraid of, right?
Exactly.
Like,
We assume all
she
those,
would-
and then she just starts talking to you, and she's just the
Fucking
most
love
gentle
it.
soul, right?
you know what?
And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
holy shit! Like, why did I perceive it that way? Because like, oh, I just assumed that every hot girl with big tits would have been like, I'm too good for you. blah,
Again, that's
blah,
a self-protection mechanism too.
Mhm.
Like, because women are beautiful, they have power.
blah.
And we allow them to have power over us because they're fucking beautiful, and we want to share in that beauty, or like worst case, possess that
Yeah.
beauty, or but there's nothing more attractive than a woman that you forget how beautiful she is after you're talking to her.
Yeah. But they also, I mean, maybe it's learned, but like, I would say, dude, I'm speaking out of my element because I'm not a hot female. But I've heard this from some, they're like, dude, they have to have a protectionism angle because they have to push off like creeps. They
You know,
have been
that
pushing off creeps
Yeah.
from whatever 13 to 25.
I
So
get
they
it.
have learned this like kind of like
Because men
get
want
the
to
fuck out.
fucking possess them.
Right. So they have learned that. So then we kind of like as a like when a real human interaction where we like for me as a person growing up was like, oh, that person is this person that always just like, don't talk to me, like I'm too good for you. But in reality, they were just being like, no, I don't need another man hitting on me, and I actually just want to have a like conversation.
It's a tough position to be in because what they have to do is to assume that every man wants to possess them, and therefore they they attract that energy too.
Mhm.
So it's a self-fulfilling sort
Yeah.
of prophecy.
But then when you like, obviously you experience this when you talk to somebody who might be like that person, you have like a good conversation, like, oh, this is nice.
I ran into that in
Oh.
New York a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, dude, you're just
Yeah.
you're another person just trying to figure out life.
Yeah, and then
the
you
same
just
way
don't
as-
you don't
Hey,
care anymore.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
not trying to. You're like, oh, this is an interesting human being. That's something I appreciate about working with all the models in New York is I was able to practice seeing a human being, not a body.
Yeah.
Human being first.
Yeah.
They happen to have been gifted or cursed this beautiful form.
It's both
Yeah.
because and that is the tricky thing of the human experience because we see somebody first for their body,
Yeah.
for better or worse. That's how we see.
Yeah.
But like if I didn't know you, I see you, and you are Dan, muscular, tatted. Like he's probably gonna destroy me. And then I'm bringing my preconceived ideas. It's like I'm a frail, nerdy kid. I'm like, dude, this guy is gonna be like, let's get the fuck out of here. And then the very first time I met you, you're like, hey, dude, let's meet up. Like I'm like, oh, what? and then you just realize that, oh yeah, we're just like.
I love it when
humans
shit
here.
happens like our first meeting because it was immediately I feel like Rick and Morty was like a point of connection.
Probably. I
But
mean,
we
I talk
just
about it all
kept
the time.
hitting these
Yeah.
points of like,
It was very.
oh, I love that too.
It was very unexpected.
Yeah.
But I do love that. I love the surprise of getting to know a person that I was like, oh shit, like I didn't realize that I would actually be friends with them. And one of my first arrangements, my buddy Mick, actually, shout out to Mick. He's supposed to be on this podcast, but I bailed on him.
You bail on him.
I did. I did three. I scheduled 3 podcasts in a row.
Oh, okay.
And I got really fucked up for the one. which is great. We did it, and then I got really fucked up for the second, and then we did it, and then by the third, I was like, dude, I cannot exist, and I like texted me, I was like, I can't do it. I'm sorry. But so he is he is an inspiration to me. He is where I got the non-negotiables from.
Yeah,
Where,
okay.
like, he taught me that like principle, where it's just like create a list of like he's like if I do these 3 things, I've succeeded in my day. Because he's on a mission to, and I've told you this, but he's on a mission to be a soccer coach.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay.
And so, but that's a 20-year mission or 30. Like, I mean, it's not a short game. It's a very long game. But he's like,
he wants to coach in the Premier League, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I recently learned how much they make.
So entry level is like 1 or 2 million. And like,
Yeah.
Of any
And
Premier
then
League.
the Premier League of Spain is making 19 million.
Yeah. So the lowest level is at like 1 or 2 mil.
It's
And
wild.
and so he's just like this, and he has kids, and he's like, I want to show them what's attainable if you work towards a goal, and I really appreciate that. And then but I met him as a bartender, and even as a bartender, I used to give him shit because he was shaved head, diamond earings, and he had been like, fuck, he might hate me if he ever sees this, but he hadn't been laid in like 2 years. He's like, dude, I can't find a girl to be interested in me. And I was like, Mick, here's your problem. You look like a douche.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
all the girls that are into douches meet you, and you're a gentle soul, and they're not into you. And
Oh, yeah.
all the girls that like nice guys will never talk to you because you look like a douche. And
How did he handle that?
we were just like fucking around. This is like literally when we were still like bartending.
Yeah.
I was like giving him shit about it.
Yeah.
He met his wife and his love of his life, and they're doing fucking great. On Tinder, this is a crazy story. I should talk to him about this on this podcast, but like he told me this. He's like, dude, I got on Tinder and I matched with Kara, his wife, and she had turned on Tinder because she was like ready to start meeting somebody outside of whatever her circle was.
Is this in Boise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Met him, went on a date, turned it off. They connected. They've been married for
She only went on one date?
One date with him.
Bro.
Like,
And what about
I was-
him? Had he been on Tinder for
I'm
a long
not
time?
sure
or-
how long, but like he could not find something that worked for him, and then all of a sudden that clicked.
That is
And
lovely when that happens.
It was, and I was
Yeah.
just like inspired by it. So, but he went from bar to real estate, but like, so when I connected with him later, he's like, dude, I've been always working towards being a soccer coach. This is my law. He's like, I want to be a soccer coach at the highest level. If you want to do it at the highest level, you have to. It's not a short game. It's not like
So where did he start on that process?
we started. Well, so he played soccer. He got drafted into the professional level in, I think, Seattle. Got drafted onto the team. Was into the season and broke his ankle or broke something that inhibited him from actually.
So is that was him on that team? Was that after bartending with you?
No, that was before. Yeah. So he was still, but like I didn't even know this till after. But so his mission is to like he's just like, this is what I want to do with my life. Is I want to be this. And he's like, I will set my family up forever if I, not if, but when. Like he's very determined, and this is what I appreciate about someone who has a goal with a singular focus, and like is going to make it happen. And I've watched him since like go from he's like I'm coaching these 5th graders, now I'm coaching these 8th graders, now he's coaching BSU. Now, like he's just like, I am very determined, and he's just like working towards his goal, and it really inspires me. But I'm like, dude, how do you do it? Like, how do you like manage all this pressure? And he's also managing his family, and he's just like,
And he's a realtor.
yeah, that's how he pays his bills on like like while he's working towards like what he wants. And he was just like, yeah, I dedicate this time to this time to this, and then he's like, by 8 p.m. that's my family time, 8 to 11, and I spend those nights with my
So
family.
he's type A.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. He is very different than I am.
You're not type A.
No. But what I appreciated about him was like when we had this conversation, this is what I was like, dude, I want to talk to you about on this podcast so bad. It's just like, I feel like a failure every single day that I like, not every single day, but when I'm like, I fuck up here, I sleep in, whatever. He's like,
But hold on, but do those things equate to you feeling like a failure? Does it make you feel like a failure if you sleep in?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always, but there's like this, it's like external pressure.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, he's the one who taught me about non-negotiables, and he was just like, dude, what I really like, and he was talking about how he talked to his therapist about like stuff like this, and she's like, you like, because he's managing a lot of things, family, goal, whatever, and she was just like, you have to determine me time. And she's like, what does me time mean to you? And he's like, well, he's like, my me time is coaching. And she's like, so then are you coaching? So he coaches his kids at 5 or 6 p.m., like his kids team, as just like, that's his like donate, like he's coaching his kids. And then he coaches BSU in the morning hours. And he's like, that's actually my me time. And he's like, that's where I thrive. That's where I feel the most
Rejuvenated.
Like, yeah. He's like,
yeah.
And so he's like, so I had to determine like, I'm actually winning every day that I wake up and I'm coaching. So as long as I'm inputting into somebody else's life, that's a win. And then if I do this is a win. So like, you have to mark these things in your life. Like, okay, so mark 3 things in your life that are wins every single day. That's where I got the non-negotiables, was from him. It's like, choose things. It doesn't have to be hard. It means the things that you were like passionate about. So like, that's what I was like, I want to be passionate about like my growth. So when I told you mine, I was like, I want to speak into the mirror every day and tell myself how I love myself. That is something that I want to create as a non-negotiable for me, where I'm like, I can do that every single day. Doesn't matter if I fuck up everything else. If I could get into the mirror and be like, hey Joshua, I love you. I believe in you. I love who you are. I love how you treat your friends. So these are the things that I like want to say to myself every day in the mirror. So I like created my own, and I was like, okay, so can I make my bed in the morning? Yes, that helps me create stability in my life. Because like, I feel like my life is chaos, and so if I can just make my bed, create a little like safe space in my room, I feel good. And then I talk to myself in the mirror, and then my third is meditating. And I'm still struggling with it, but I know that gives me peace, gives me clarity, gives me like my stress level goes from here to here when I do that. So that's where I learned it from anyway.
Yeah.
And his path is different than mine. Like, I'm not trying to do that big thing. And that's great that he is, and I'm not doing that. But, well, it's very, to end it, it's just like very inspiring to like see a person on like a different path, but still like learn and grow from like, oh shit, like this is still a person like on life paths that's figuring it out, and he's managing it as best as he can.
Yeah. So, one thing I thought about while you're talking is culturally we tend to admire driven people with a singular focus.
Very, very true.
The detriment of that singular focus is a lack of adaptability, or the ability to see when something's offered to you that might not be what you intended on your path and receive it. The other thing is, both of us are in the same boat. We're like, I'm just not going to be a highly structured person. It's not in my makeup. But I have always felt some shame about that. And actually, Surrender Experiment made me think about that too, because I was like, this motherfucker meditated 3 hours in the morning at 3 hours at night. And I kind of felt like this, like I'm not gonna add up to that degree of dedication.
Yeah.
I had to let go of it and be like, that's not how I'm made.
No.
I'm not intended for that degree of discipline. I can develop discipline in certain areas, but I'm a feeler, and we're artists, and we're changing direction, we're moving, and if we constantly feel like we have to be other than that, then we're not going to receive all the beauty that there is in our particular makeup. And that's fucking hard.
So that's the thing that I've struggled with on this life path. You read from different people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every time, say for example, reading from Michael Singer, I'm like, okay, now that I've read from him, I'm really inspired.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to do everything he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that doesn't, just because he did
That's what I immediately did.
Yes.
And immediately recognized, I'm like, no, I am not Michael Singer.
And
I don't have to do what he did. But I can take some really
Yes.
beautiful things from this and adapt them.
And that's that. That is something that I'm starting to learn, because I've read the opposite. You know, like if you read, I don't know, I've been to, say you go to a BNI, you're like, oh, we'll get up at 4, do this, and I'm like, oh, well now I need to do this, and then you try it, you're like, dude, that's not me. But then as soon as it's not, like, you realize it's not you, you don't realize it right away. You're like, I'm a failure. Fuck, dude. Well, I guess I'm a piece of shit. But like, if you were to interview every successful person, you're gonna get these broad different ways they got there.
Yeah.
And so, and it doesn't, not even like, that's only like the 1% of like people that made
Sure.
it. But in general, say interview people that are happy. That's not all what like ever, or what people that are satisfied, or people that have, you know. So like that's a good learning lesson into being like, oh, I don't need to, like, I can take a little bit of wisdom from them, but maybe that's not me. That's okay. Like maybe my path is a little over here, but I want us to take that nugget of truth. And that's where I struggle with too, is like, I struggle with discipline. And I'm like, okay, so I do understand that I'm on the other side of discipline. I'm like, I want to just wake up,
float
whatever,
around,
and
loosey-goosey, and
but maybe I can learn from the people that have a little discipline. That doesn't mean I need to like go all the way and to be like, okay, so I'm gonna wake up at 4, get in the cold soak at 4:15, like go to the gym at 4:30.
But you know
like,
what? Have you done that yet?
What?
Woken up early. Okay.
My early is 7.
No, but that's fine. Early to you. I resonate with all of this. We are constructed very similarly, dude.
Yeah.
Very similarly. And I've always felt an element of shame at my lack of discipline. But you know what's happened? I've accidentally wandered into discipline because there's something I want in life that requires discipline.
Yeah.
So I have a purpose for it, and I have it. Like now, most of the time, not since my crazy ass DMT trip, I started sleeping in late and like I lost my mind for a while. But before that, I was like, no, I can get up at 7 and I can get to the gym by 8 and I can get this shit done, and it feels really good. But I'm not doing it because I need discipline.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because discipline is required to get what I want.
Yeah.
It's a different approach.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
That it's I think for me, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
But I actually, this whole when I started this like podcast, this called NOBODIES, and it like, I am 38 when I started this. Is 37. I've been a bartender. Never get up before 10. I like to enjoy life. I like to travel. I like to dabble into the debaucherous, and I still think that there is you can still figure out a way to like enjoy life, and like I guess I would originally I would say be successful. Now like I wanted to show people a path to like you can do things that you want to do, without it doesn't like I do think that it's more of like a military way of doing things. You do this, you do this, you do this. This is how you are successful. You build wealth, blah blah blah. I think there are different paths, and if you watch like most creatives, they don't do it the same way. And I just want to shed light on a little bit of that. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, you don't have to. You, for example, you can smoke cigars with a friend that you like resonated with, and you can do something different. And I don't know where that goes, but I just like.
And that's the thing is, it doesn't matter where it goes.
Yeah.
You allow it to go wherever it goes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it goes somewhere beautiful and unexpected. Like you're not trying to control it, and as a result, shit falls in your lap.
Yeah.
And you know what? You don't have to earn it. I think that when we feel like we've really earned something, we invite the element of like pride and I deserve this, instead of like, this is a wonderful gift and I accept it, and there is just humility built into that, right?
Yeah. And I don't want to I don't want to knock like the dedicate, like for example, if you want to be in the NBA,
yep,
you can't do this. Like you have to actually get up and work every single day.
If you want to be,
right,
if you want to have a PhD.
Yes. So there is levels of that are for certain people, but that doesn't mean that is for everyone.
Doesn't mean it's the only way.
And that doesn't mean that there is not like a different path. Like maybe you weren't supposed to be in the NBA, and maybe you were just like, oh fuck, like maybe I could do this instead, and it fall. At some point you'll probably meet this guy, but my buddy Rob, one of the smartest guys I know, actually the smartest guy I know, he told me this thing. He's a doctor, very smart, very successful, and when I had a conversation with him a year and a half ago when I told you about the Vancouver event.
That you did recently?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I did it a year ago. So when I was talking to him, he was just like, honestly, he's like, I've been a go with the flow kind of a way of my life. And he's just like, I became a doctor. Everyone else tries so hard to be a doctor. He's like, it was so easy for me. But he's like, because I like to read. So he's like, I like to read from 12 to 18 or whatever. I just really craved learning and growing. So he's like, when I started med school, it was cake. He's like, 'cause most people.
Could you imagine that?
Right.
Dude.
But most people are like, oh, I gotta try so hard. And I'm like, that was not his path. He was just like, dude, it was so easy for you. Because it came easy. It's like how Michael Singer, when he picked up the computer, just resonated.
Yeah, and he was just like, writing code is like meditation for me.
He was like,
and
it was like a language.
It.
He's like, I already knew how to speak it.
Yeah.
Because it just resonated with him. So that was like how Rob said it, like becoming a doctor was for him. And then he's just like, the things that have come into my life is just going with the flow. And then his whole charity was kind of on accident. That was like, he had told me this, and then I was thinking about this after reading that book. I was like, oh shit, this is kind of like how
that's
Rob
pretty cool to see.
He's just like, I wasn't trying to start a charity. It kind of happened. He's like, okay, well, like, yeah, let's put some money into it. Like, let's try it like a little bit. And like now it's grown. It's getting bigger and bigger.
It's beautiful.
And I'm like, but he wasn't like really trying for it. And he even says to this day, he's like, I don't want to work, like, I don't want to make this a chore for anyone. He's like, I want it to keep being like what we want to do, and we're enjoying what we're doing. We're helping people, blah blah blah, and it's growing and it's beautiful. It's like, oh, this is the guy who's surrendering to the flow of whatever is happening. Like, okay, so this is what my influence and like whatever is happening. We're growing. We're helping more people. But I wasn't like, he didn't go in with a mission of like, I want to create a charity.
Yes. Yeah. Are you real familiar with Sam Harris?
Yeah. Pretty.
I'm not as versed in him. Do you feel like he's in that world of like he sort of surrendered his way to where he's at?
Yeah.
I get that sense.
Yeah, because he's this neuroscientist, and then he's like, all of a sudden I'm into meditation.
I love his perspective from what I've heard.
I lost it. There was another person. But yeah, I like Sam Harris's perspective a lot. Huberman. Sorry, Huberman. Not on the same level spiritually or anything like that, but I enjoy how the way that Huberman presents advice even is with such a gentle acceptance to it of like, hey, most people aren't going to be able to get up at 4, get in the cold plunge, send out 50 emails, and then eat breakfast. So if you're not going to be able to do that, there's some very simple things that you can do. And one of them that I really liked, and it was actually really pivotal, was don't get on your phone first thing in the morning. I was like, oh shit. Just changing that. And now everything's changed where, dude, you want to hear, I mean, to me this is a miracle, but I wake up, last night I literally meditated in my sleep.
What?
Never done this before in my life. And I guess I don't want to say it quite that way, but I woke up quite a few times and I watched my mind and I have never done this before, but I was just like, I'm going to focus on my third eye. And what did I say? Oh, in every in-breath, I said spirit. Every out-breath, I said I let go. And every single breath, a thought tried to infiltrate. Every single breath. And I immediately let go of it and went back to my spot. And I had 2 wild dreams. I'm not going to go into super... One of them was horrendous. Literally child mutilation. I don't know why. Then the next one was this beautiful, intimate moment. It was just it was a weird fucking night, dude. But as a result, or not as a result, but in the same vein, I wake up every morning and the first thing I say is, Spirit, I surrender. I get to wake up like that now. Every fucking morning.
I like that.
It's amazing.
Okay, so if I were to take this, as soon as I open my eyes, Spirit, I surrender. Mm-hmm. That's my takeaway. Because I'm trying to figure out ways to wake up better. Because a lot of times I wake up and I'm stressed, almost immediately.
Yeah.
So I want to
Yeah, me too.
So that's good. Okay.
Up until the last few months, I always woke up feeling not good enough. And I always woke up with this just wild rat race of thoughts in my mind. And I always woke up feeling behind.
Yeah. Yes. That resonates really hard.
Like I'm already behind.
Yeah.
I've already not done enough.
Dude, you sent me that song. What is it? Sleeping at Last.
Mm-hmm.
You Are Enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I set that as my alarm for a while because I was just like, I want to wake up, and that brings me a lot of joy when I wake up to that. It's like, it's like it goes through like all the thoughts in your bed, and it's just like, you are enough, you are, and dude, it's
you
really
just start
good.
out as enough.
Yeah.
So then your actions are not about trying to make you enough anymore.
No, I like that mantra. Just,
that's great, dude.
Not a mantra, but whatever. Like
it really is a mantra.
Wake up, and say, "I surrender" or something. Because I've been trying to. Actually, my sister just got recommended this light because I can't wake up in when it's dark.
Well, and your sister got recommended a light?
No, she recommended me this little. It's so speaking of not getting on your phone when you wake up.
Yeah.
Because normally you will wake up to your phone, grab it, whatever. It's like the alarm. So she recommended this light. It like simulates the sun. Mm-hmm. So one of the things she's like shows like it creates a lot of light. especially when it's dark out, but like I don't get a lot of light in my room, so it just turns the light on over 20
Like the
minutes.
sun's going
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so it turns it
Which
over 20
naturally
minutes.
your body
right?
responds to, yeah.
So then you wake up, and dude, this is like 2 days in. So
Hold on, so it has an alarm on it where it wakes up, like it starts coming on at a certain time?
So you program it.
Yeah.
So it's just this little ball,
Yeah.
and it goes from like light to dark dark to light over 20 minutes. And
Okay.
it gets super bright, and so she said it's been a game changer for her. And so I've only tried this for 2 days, so hear me out, and I'll talk to
So
you.
I
in
want
another-
it, like,
And I'll
especially in
show-
the wintertime.
I'll show you this right after. I'll show you like what it does. And then I have Phillips light, so I'm trying to figure out like, so I do want to wake up earlier. Like I don't want to be a 4 a.m. guy, but I want to be able to wake up and like get it going. But I don't want to wake up and
I gotta light you.
lay in bed for
Yeah. So you wake up and you lay in bed?
yeah. Well, and I've never been a person like for the most part. I fucking love laying in bed. I really do. Like I.
Well, then the next question is this best for me?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to say that either are bad, because I'm like, yes, when I get up at 6, get my day started, and get going, I feel accomplished, and it does give me joy. But getting up is always just like a dread, and I don't want to dread waking up, right? So this is why she's told me this. She's like, I don't like, you just said it, kind of wakes you up gradually. You wake up, you like the light brings you like, so obviously you can talk to Huberman about this, where it's just like you get the light, it wakes up your natural circadian. Get moving, get your body flowing. You're like, okay, now I feel energized. You shake the grogginess, etc. But yeah, so actually today was the first time it felt really good, because I had set it for 7. It kind of like started. So I kind of woke up. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty awake, and 7 is early for me, like really early. And normally I get up at like 9 to 10.
Right now, 7's the earliest that I get up.
Yeah.
And
I didn't get out of bed until probably 7:30, whatever. Because I fucking love laying in bed, especially
but
if someone's there.
again, the question is like, is this best for me?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then fucking do it. But if it's not, then like, and the thing is with some of those routines is like, they're just hard initially, and then they do get easier.
But there is also okay. So here's my like counter to that. Like, so I follow. Do you know Tom Bilyeu?
Mm-mm.
He's a very like success guy. He is he's very inspiring in a lot of ways. He gets a lot of inspiring people, and he's still into health. He's still into wellness. He's into meditate. Like, he's not like a non-spiritual guy. He's not like just all money or whatever, right? But he's said that his hang up was always getting up, and he's like, so I have a rule. I hit he's like, as soon as I wake up, I give myself 9 minutes, and then I get up. And I admire that. But I love intimate time with a partner in bed in the morning.
Mm.
And I think that is some of the most beautiful connection that I can have with
So it
a
sounds
partner.
like that's best.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, for how long? Like, because I could do that for hours and just lay in bed with someone and cuddle and be intimate. But at some point, I'm like, I do need to start my day and still need to like do some things. Like this is again where I like go back to like doing and being, right? Because I could lay in bed all day and spend an intimate moment, and I can take that moment into eternity with someone in bed. But if I do that all the time, that I can't exist that
It
way.
inhibits other things
Right.
that need to be
Yeah.
done.
So,
Yeah.
but I really like if I can turn that on 2 hours earlier, and that's what I like about this light thing, where it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, so instead of waking up at 10 and then staying in bed till 11, if I can wake up at 7, stay in bed till 8, and then still go about my day, I feel good about that. And then I don't know. These are all things that I'm trying out because I've always been sleeping, and I will probably never be a 4 person. But I do know that at a specific time at like, because I'm more of a late night person, but I also tank. Like at 11, I start like losing my motivation. So I'm like, okay, so if I'm gonna lose my motivation at 11, I can't sleep until noon. Like I have to do some sort of things with like what I'm doing with my.
So what I would say with the morning stuff, like, just start with one thing and maybe the most reasonable and helpful. Like, find that little combination. Like, if you sleep till 10 or 11, but you get to start out with, whatever resonates for you. Man, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful that I have this bed. This bed is beautiful. So grateful. I'm grateful that I have this house. Or I still have so much hair. Whatever it may be. But I mean, if you start out, like, sometimes those first thoughts set the tone for your whole day.
And that's what I like about what you said. Like when you wake up, you're like, whoa, say it again, actually.
I say, Spirit, I surrender. And it's actually oftentimes a form of my mantra. My mantra typically is, Spirit, I honor you. I open my heart. I honor you.
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and I repeat that often during the day.
Yeah.
The other one that I do is, I am loving awareness. And that one I got from Ram Dass. So something I love about Ram Dass is after he had his stroke, I think he lived like 20 years after his stroke.
Yeah.
Something happened to him because of that stroke. I mean, his ego just fucking melted. And he have you heard him post-stroke?
Yeah.
So slow with that gravelly voice and like,
I've heard that.
but so loving. Like I heard him at a convention where he's got 3 or 4 other panel members or whatever, and he's talking about how he's like, I love everything. I love everyone here. I love this cup. And I'm like, that's fucking interesting because he's in such a state of in-loveness that he literally feels love for everything around him at all times. That's fascinating, and I love that tells me that that's a possibility.
So when this is where like I feel the, I know, it goes back to like doing and being, but like I feel very in my core that I am still, like I am meant to do something, like meant to
Produce something.
Yes, but I think it potentially, and this is like potentially some of it's my ego, but potentially some of it's my like calling, and this is where it's like when we talk about greater consciousness, like when you tap into something and then you come back, like we talked about earlier, like off podcast, but it's just like these experiences where you're like, you see something beyond yourself, right?
Yeah.
You're like, so what is...
You see yourself in relationship to everything else versus from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then when you come back to what we are in this moment, it's like, okay, so I've seen this, of like this expanded universe, especially like you talked about seeing yourself in multiple timelines, and I've seen myself in this as well. And when I come back to, okay, so this is where I am right now, and my belief, I guess currently is that, yes, I am something of a greater consciousness. I have like this I view the world as like more of a or consciousness is like more of this collective consciousness, and then it's like purpose into these individuals. So we get these experiences of God and God-like being and like our like divine, and then we're still in this body. So what is that for? And then I'm like, okay, so what is like where am I, like what am I doing to represent that, like, that greater purpose.
So I had a thought, and give me your feedback. But my thinking is that these things that we are called to do are less. I'll take a drink. Cheers.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't want one of you. I'm good. I'm drinking slow.
I drink fast. I'm drinking the slowest I've ever drank.
Yeah, you are.
I had a few shots of whiskey.
I'm proud of you, bud.
Thanks, bud.
And I don't think I've had this thought before, but I feel like these things that we are called to do are much less about the doing of those things than that those things put us in a position to learn what we need to learn.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does.
It's less about the production. It's more about the experience of it, and you know what I mean? And it's also like such an intricate framework, the human condition, where everything that we do has an effect, and that affects somebody. The same with the book Letting Go. Like, somebody recommended to me, and on this goes, and people get increasing amounts of freedom, and we share it with each other, and it's just fucking built into us to share, you know?
So, okay, so I have an idea that I've been thinking about this a bit, but so if there's a greater consciousness, like, say it's a collective consciousness, I'm not sure of any of this. It's like where I think about it a lot. I'm not sold on anything, so I want to first portray that as like I don't really know what's going on in the global universe. I don't know if there's one God, if there's multiple gods, etc. Okay, so I do. When you see like certain things that happen in life, like divine events or like events that you're like, holy shit, maybe that had a purpose. Like, or maybe there was like a reason why, for example, like maybe there's a reason why I met Dan at this moment. It was because of this. Have you ever felt that? Like where?
Yeah,
okay.
fuck yeah. I mean, especially after the DMT thing, where I'm
Yes.
like, oh shit, everything was beyond comprehension, organized.
So
You know?
I've had a couple moments recently where I felt that really heavily. One of the recent ones was, have you watched Oppenheimer yet?
No.
So Oppenheimer is about the dude who created the bomb, etc. But I came out of that movie, so I'll explain the situation and then you can give me your thoughts. But I think that I'm trying to figure out how so basically we are in a situation, current state of affairs, where Russia and Ukraine
Okay, this is
are
very
at war,
specific. Okay.
right? So there is potential that there is nuclear holocaust. There is that potential in our lifetimes, right? So if, for example, Russia's like, fuck it, we're just doing this, like, at the backs, and then the state of the world is like, at least in America, we're like, okay, we're doing this. I don't mean this to be political. Like, we're just like, okay, well, yeah, we need to support Ukraine, but like Russia has nukes, we have nukes. Like, there's like these big superpowers with nukes. So when I watched the movie, I had this like kind of thought where my takeaway from the movie, which I think that Christopher Nolan and the whole movie was just like, dude, we don't know what we're playing with. This is really dangerous. At the very end of the movie, they say this line is like, where they're like, we started something that will end civilization. And they said that when they were starting, like, coming up with this thing, and they're like, well, we have to do it before Germany does it. So we have to figure out this technology before that. But this is like, And they're like, well, don't we think that this is bad, that we're creating this thing that could destroy everyone? They're like, yeah, but what if Germany finds it first? Like, that's scary, right? And then, so at the end of the movie, like, so they had already referenced this point. It's very beautifully done.
Yeah, I know. I'm afraid to watch it right now.
It is scary.
Yeah.
It terrified me. I was like, when at the end, I was just like crying.
Yeah.
I literally was crying. I'm like sobbing, and like the screen goes up, and Lindsay and Cindo are sitting there. They're like, Josh, are you okay? I was like, no, I'm not okay. Dude, I was like, dude, it's scary, but like it's really well done. But I think so anyway, the point to me that I got from it was just like, dude, we don't know what we're toying with, and we've already set in chain a motion where like we are going to destroy ourselves with this technology. So what I thought from that, thinking about like global consciousness or whatever, I was like, Christopher Nolan started this movie before this Russia and Ukraine shit ever happened. Like he, like for some reason, was like, felt probably drawn to a project, was like, I like this project. But I was like, maybe he was guided by some sort of global or like consciousness. It's like, hey, I think this is important. I think that you should make this, because he is one of the biggest, most influential filmmakers of our time. So, but this is 4 years ago when he started this project, or 5, or whatever, you know, like way before Russia and Ukraine ever happened. And so it just happened to actually get into fruition at this moment when tensions in the world are very high. And I was like, maybe, and this is like my own speculation, it was like, maybe something in consciousness was like, you need to make this
But to
movie.
what effect?
Okay, hear me out. So it was like, so because if you were if you were to just say as like a narrative in like a news sphere, we shouldn't toy with this. Like it doesn't resonate with people.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to resonate with people is to create something artistic that resonates. You know, like because
That's entertaining.
Entertaining, right?
Yeah.
So now you have millions of people watching this thing that is a global sensation,
And then
being like, holy shit, this is actually dangerous. Maybe we should pay attention. Maybe we should put a little bit of a break on what we're doing. And this is only my perspective, but because I was really scared at the end of the movie. I was like, fuck, this is what we're doing as a human race. We are like just building nukes. We're ready to go. We're like toying with like all this combattery, and at any second somebody presses a button and then we all go to like nuclear holocaust. And no one wants that, or like we would hope, but I don't think a lot of people like know what the power of what this was, because I wasn't like alive when this shit happened, like in the first nuclear bombs and whatever, and now it's gotten so much greater. So I had this thought where I was like, well, maybe some sort of consciousness impressed on somebody who got some sort of, and I'm not saying that Christopher Nolan is any sort of like
no, you don't have
tapped
to be.
into whatever,
No,
but
yeah.
I'm like,
Shit's
what
still happening when people aren't aware of it.
And so, but like that, I wasn't resonated with it until I saw that movie, and then I saw it and I was like, dude, this is actually really scary. And if I as an average watcher see that, hopefully those other however many people resonated with that movie, like 100 million, 200 million, was like, oh shit, I think we need to figure out a way to de-escalate a little bit, and then that creates not global, but like maybe even if just like a sentiment, be like, hey, I think we should calm down on how we're treating these escalations.
Kind of flippant.
Right?
Yeah.
And
because I think that something like that, like, we never think it's gonna happen.
Right.
Until it fucking happens.
And we haven't experienced it in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, and so we don't
really realize that.
Yeah.
So I feel like that movie impressed on me how disastrous this could be. And so I was like, if I am, as an average viewer, feeling this, maybe all of these other average viewers that went to watch this movie feel this. And then as a collective, we're like, hey, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on what we're doing, like, in this.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure on this, but I'm like, if that is something that, like, subtly changes the course of us being like, yeah, we should just go to, like, fuck them, blah, blah, blah. Instead, be like, hey, we should actually figure this out because this is too dangerous to fuck with because we are all at stake. Like, and I don't know that to be, like, true. I felt it very, like, in that moment. I was like, I think this movie has way greater purpose than just a movie. It was, like, a very, like, it was a way to impress on the average person the importance of what is happening. But I was like, dude, he didn't know that Russia and Ukraine were going to war. He just started this movie because he felt, I need to make this movie.
Do you feel like our own self-destruction is inevitable?
Maybe.
On some level, at some time. I mean, it just feels like we're going to continue to advance and still be fundamentally human, which includes a lot of
So
I would say
basically,
evil.
so it begs the question, like, did we do this before? Did we already, like, destruct ourselves before? Did we do it again?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
That's
so,
a deep rabbit hole for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I
But
am
on,
a rabbit
on
hole guy, yeah.
on smaller scale, yes. I mean,
So what? Yeah,
Rome essentially self-destructed in its own way. Like,
yeah.
all, you know,
But Rome didn't have nukes.
exactly, and that's why I'm saying, like, we have a lot of technology, but there is a lot of room for growth, man. And as we keep doing it, more and more power, more and more weapons, and you're still gonna have fucking dictators doing awful shit in the world. And so the good guys, whoever, if they even exist, are still gonna retaliate.
Yeah.
Like, it's still, and when I think about our self-destruction, I don't actually really think about complete annihilation. I just think about, like, we're going to greatly reduce our population at some point.
Sure.
Which is simultaneously awful and in the process of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, might be how it goes. This is only like, this is just a thought where I was like, okay, I'm not sure if this is like actually existence, but I have been thinking a lot about like global consciousness, purpose, and like putting like I guess I have been thinking a lot about there is cosmic purpose to individuals. And I was like, how the fuck would Christopher Nolan know that in 3 years' time that nuclear shit would be at the forefront of conversation when he started making that movie? He had no idea. So I was like, potentially, for some reason, something prodded him to put a movie into that. Because he was making Inception and he was making Interstellar, and now he like for some reason he got like put into that, or like felt I need to make this movie. And for like that was 3 years before this actually happened, but this movie came out right when
I mean,
we are
my
dealing with
opinion
this.
is I only have my experience, which suggests that things are incredibly perfectly connected and coinciding. It just
That's how that's still how like yes, I do feel like there is potentially a reason why that is now. And fuck if I know.
Yeah.
Then that was like, this is only a theory.
Yeah.
It's not like But I felt it pretty hard.
So did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
We talked about this.
I started it and I fell asleep, but I was really
Yeah,
tired.
yeah. That is one of those movies that somehow tapped into so perfectly. I don't know. I don't know who created that, but they did some
Asian
fucking
guy.
psychedelics, man. Because they
Yeah.
were tapped in. Dude, it was
I have to
brilliant.
rewatch it for sure.
It was brilliant. I've only watched it once on mushrooms.
Yeah.
Talk about crying, dude. I wept through that entire movie. I went by myself. Oh my god.
See, that's one of those things where, as a creative, I think that sometimes the way to, like our conversation, like I hope would influence one or two people, right? But when you create a cinematic event that can like reach a ton of people and like, because you can't have that conversation with like a person and change their perspective. But if you create like a cinematography way to ring in the average person that never thought about those things, and then bring them in, and they're like, "Holy fuck, I never thought about that," or like that's the beauty of art, cinema, wherever that goes. Like that's
Music,
yes,
especially, dude.
exactly.
Music's incredible. It taps into the heart so easily.
Yeah, and that's a better way to reach people than just standing at like a pulpit or so, like saying, "Hey, I need you to listen to me.
Yeah.
You should change your mind."
When you start
That
telling
doesn't
people to
work.
listen to you, it doesn't go well.
But if you show them
Yeah.
some sort of art that moves the soul,
It has to
then you're
resonate or it does nothing.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that is my appreciation for any sort of person that, and I don't even think that sometimes people know, like maybe that director didn't even know how much they would influence somebody in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I would really like to do in my life is to create a film.
I can't imagine how fucking hard that is. Especially a film like Everything Everywhere All at Once, where it's like a perfectly told story. So you've got that. Beautifully shot. Funny. There's fucking action. And then
Yeah.
the core message is pure enlightenment. Like, amazing.
So this guy, Tom Bilyeu, that I was telling you about, that will not stay in bed for more than 9 minutes, which as much as I can't do that, his mission, I think you would like him, but he is on a mission to be the next Walt Disney, but he's like, I want to be as influential as Walt Disney on culture, but I want to teach these messages that I've been learning. And he's like, I don't think that I can just tell them on a podcast. I want to teach them.
I'm going to show them.
Yeah, I want to throw them through like cinema, and
Yeah.
so he's trying to create a cinematic empire.
Has he produced films?
Not. I don't know if he has yet.
Is that what he's trying to do?
But yeah, like that's his end goal. Like
Okay.
he's like, I want. And he's like, this is a 30-year process, and he's already created businesses. He's been massively successful, and he's an inspiration as far as like he's like, I was a lazy asshole, but he's like, I wasn't doing anything. I was fat. I was lazy, and now I'm like doing this. He created a Quest, the protein bars.
Yep.
Quest.
Okay.
So he did that, and they sold it. Then he created this like podcast stuff after that. But he's like, what I really want to do is create cinema on the level of Walt Disney, but I want to teach these lessons instead of just teaching hopeless girl finds boy.
We were just talking about that because we watched Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck was that?
Uh,
I was like, Al, that was like the worst movie
it's
I've ever seen in my
painful.
life.
Yeah.
That was, oh my God.
So yeah, that's kind of his like approach. He's like, I want to create cinema I want to be on that influential level, but I want to create something that actually like changes the human perspective. Because like the only way to like really change that, like you have to like put it through culture.
It's like you have to speak to people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people are going to respond to,
Yeah.
you know, Jordan Peterson and lectures and,
Yeah, for sure.
but probably not most people.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's his goal. Yeah. I mean, it's a big ass mission, but it's
How's that cigar?
I like this one. This one a lot faster than the last one. I don't know if does it burn quicker or am I smoking
Just different,
faster?
like, once you're smoking a lot of cigars, you'll notice that they're different weights. They're almost like different densities.
Yeah.
So that'll affect the burn. But
Yeah.
it's also just a different size.
It's like different dicks, I feel.
Do you feel different dicks?
Yeah, sometimes.
All right. You just gotta know.
Dude,
I almost stole the gay joke. And I'm gonna go there right now.
that's right, I'll tell it.
I feel like I have a past because my brother's gay, you know, and then most of my best friends in New York are gay.
Yeah.
But I don't have a past.
Dude, it is crazy. I was talking about this off camera, but it is crazy how I know you. So, like, I met Cameron, your brother, 12 years ago, I would say, at P.F. Chang's.
Was he manager at that time?
No.
Or you guys were both back
No.
at house?
No. So he was, I don't even think he was serving at the time. He was just back of house.
Yeah.
So I was serving. He was back of house. And then he became a server. So the kid he moved in with, Severo,
Yeah.
in Vegas.
Yeah.
They're living together. No. Kind of all met at the same time. I started at P.F. Chang's right after I started playing music. And I kind of met them at the same time, and we all started hanging out. So Severo was a back waiter, or like a busser, whatever you call it. And I think that Cameron was the same back waiter busser, and then he started serving. But we became homies. He became friends with my roommate, Chris Hurd.
Yep.
And you know Chris Hurd?
Yep.
So
Heard.
Yeah. So I lived in this apartment over on Latah. It's like right up the way. Right, yeah, where your parents live, just like straight down. And so dude, Cameron and Chris were really good friends. So he was just over at my apartment all the time, and then like we became friends, and then we all worked together. I actually worked with Chris Hurd there, and then I was just like, hey, I have this apartment. I was saving for the house here, and so then I got Chris to live with me, and so he was coming over all the time. And then when he became manager, we were not supposed to hang out anymore. And
What a weird.
But-
I get it and I don't get it. Like that's
It's so
like,
silly.
hey, you can't be friends anymore with all of your
So
friends.
I get it
I
as
mean-
far as like a corporate standpoint.
Yeah.
But also just so stupid. Like people got fired because they hung out with employees. So silly. You're like, oh, you were hanging out with an employee, we have to let you go. Like that was the culture. But so Cameron became manager, and then we had already been hanging out. I was selling weed at the time, so
That's how you bought this house?
yeah, all the weed money. Dude, it was so funny. But like, so when after he became manager, he would still come over and hang out with Chris. And then I was dating this girl, Maggie, at the time. And one time, like, I would come over, he's like, dude, I'm supposed to like hang out with you. I'm like, dude, no one's been like, I'm not telling anyone. It was so silly. I was like, dude, I'm not gonna tell anyone that we're hanging out. And then my girlfriend Maggie came over, and he's just like, oh fuck. I'm like, dude, it's gonna be fine. And then we would still all hang out. And yeah.
He's still in that position because he's managing Shake Shack.
Do they have somewhat of a similar corporate
Yeah, I
structure.
think so. And as a result, like, he just doesn't have very many friends because that's where he is all the time.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really have like I have cigars. So any city I go to, I'm gonna immediately end up falling into this group, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't really have like that kind of a social thing yet.
Yeah. And that's a struggle because, like, I don't know, it's a bummer because if you go into a situation, because there has been some managers that came into BF Chang's and they're like, well, we can only hang out with managers. They're like, we cannot hang out with our employees. So then they can't make friends. But, like,
It's easier
they-
that way versus
It
like
is
going
easier.
up. Like,
But that is the trippy thing, because, okay, so you spent time for the last year of your life making friends with 20 people that you know and love, and all you've done is partied with these 20 people, and then you became manager. You're like, yeah, you can't hang out with them anymore. Like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here.
yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
In that regard.
I get the dating thing, like not dating your employees. I get that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you still can't, like, okay, so you're not allowed to associate with them anymore. And then I feel like it always still happens. Like, come on. But then, like, people would get fired over that shit. But yeah, so, like, we still hung out and stuff. And then, yeah, we're still going to smoke weed together. We're still going to hang out together. It was, we got to keep it on the DL. Like, no one can know. It's so silly.
He doesn't smoke anymore. He hasn't smoked in years.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He started to get just anxious and paranoid and shit.
But yeah, it is crazy that that's how, like, I knew you, and then I really love that Severo lives with him now. 'Cause I'm
Me
like,
too.
dude, I'm gonna go
They're
down
homies,
to
man.
Vegas
Yeah.
and get to hang out with Severo and Cameron. Like, that's gonna be dope. So yeah, I really appreciate some of these full circle things.
It'd be nice if we could go together.
I would love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'd be really nice. So my buddy Ricky that I mentioned before, Ricky's super interesting. He's like deeply, deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. He like has a sensitivity to vibrations and energies, and this is actually a whole part of it that I don't have and I don't really understand. But he does. That's how he, responds. And so he started a men's group, and the men's group is now coming to my place in Meridian. And I've tried out these things before, and most of the time I'm like, man, that's fucking silly. Like, this is not worth my time. This one is amazing. It's dynamic and immediately vulnerable without being melodramatic.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are just wallowing in their complaints or their miseries.
Sure.
They're just really honest, and people are there. Like, we have one atheist, we've got a Christian, and then all in between. So it's something that you want to come and be a part of. We're gonna have one on Tuesday at 7 at my place. So
Oh yeah.
I think it'd be
This
good.
next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
I keep inviting people that I know will fit well. It's interesting how men in our culture have such a longing for a place to actually get to be honest, And it's for me personally, it's a little bit foreign because I've always been vulnerable and honest. It's the first way that I connect with people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much need there was, and how helpful it's been for me too. So, you'd be a good
I'd love
addition, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all walks. Like, some are like millionaire successful, some are struggling financially, divorce. There's all kinds of shit going on.
Sure. Yeah, dude. Even the last one we went to,
That was the start of that group. That was the start of that group.
Yeah.
So
So-
some of those people
Yeah.
are still involved, but it's
Yeah.
gone a very different direction
Sure.
now.
And I'm very open to just, dude. I do think, at the core, men need to bond and sometimes it gets pushed in certain directions. But yeah, if you can find the one that like this resonates with you guys that are around, like that's how I felt when we were like taking mushrooms with me and Joe and Sam. It was just like, dude, just trying to connect, no expectation, just.
I think what's so
hanging
unusual
out.
about this situation for me is these are not. A few of them are my friends that I've been friends with, but most of them are just like I only met them and know them from the group.
Yeah.
We haven't even done like regular social shit together,
No.
you know?
No, I think it's still important.
Yeah. Yep. 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 I'm fucking freezing.
Yeah.
Are you cold?
No. But
I'm so cold.
we should end this. So,
Yeah.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate it. That was really nice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no rules.
I'm gonna make my mom watch it at least.
I like that.
Yeah.
Dude, I met your mom like twice now. She seems dope.
She is dope.
I think I met your mom and your dad at the same time, both times. But
Where at?
so I met your mom and your dad at Sturman's when you guys were doing something.
Yeah.
And then I met
Thought
them.
so.
I met them. I came over to your house before you were there with Cam one time over on Crescent. Yeah, they're super nice.
They're fucking amazing. They're
Yeah.
great, dude. And I mentioned like they started out really, really religious, really fundamentalist, and they've evolved with the rest of us.
Dude, that's
you know?
impressive.
That's
'Cause
impressive.
My
That's
parents
really rare.
are not that, like, not at all.
Yeah.
Like, I can't talk to my parents about any of this shit.
Yeah.
Not to say that I can't talk to my parents, but like, it's just they're still pretty stuck in
It's-
a
Yeah.
specific religious construct, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah.
My mom gets a little quiet with the psychedelic stuff, but also like
What about dicks? Can I talk about dicks?
you can talk about dicks. She's not gonna talk about dicks.
I'm just kidding.
She's largely unfazed, and it's partly because my gay brother in New York is beyond inappropriate. I mean, the shit that he tells the family, I'm like,
That's why they
oh
become
my
the
god, dude.
Dude, I'm normally that person to people. When people are like, dude, I don't know if I can bring Josh around, but I'm actually pretty good. Like,
You're fine,
I can
dude.
read a room, but
And
yeah.
also, you're mild compared to Jesse. I'll tell you that right now.
dude, I have
mild.
actually never met Jesse, and I would be so cool.
He's great, man. He's great. Yeah. All
Well,
right.
shit. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
This has been really good.
Yeah.
I love you, dude.
Yeah.
Give me a hug.
I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you what I appreciate about you. And I think I appreciated it like right off the bat. That's why I was drawn to you. But like, you have a sincerity. You have an openness. You have all the necessary elements to continue to grow for your entire life, and that is really admirable. I appreciate it.
I don't really know how to put in words, but when I first started hanging out with you, like, that's telling a few people I know about you. I was just like, dude, it's a very unexpected friendship. And I feel like this is just the start, but it's also like we talked about, like, dude, now we know like Sparrow and Cameron, like, I think it's just the start. Like, and I think you are on a journey that I got to, like, I'm discovering, and you are like a year or two into the path that I'm already like clued in on. I'm going. So thank you for your lead, and thank you for your like suggestions. But if this conversation reaches one or two people that want to continue that journey, that would be exciting to me. Worst case scenario, this is another like, dude, I'm podcasting and this is all practice to me. Like, this is like a practice and an art that I'm trying to perfect. So thank you for like doing this with me. But thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. You're a cool ass dude.
I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Shut the fuck up!
Nobodies.